parts of Adams County. So I'm going to take off the radar right now so we can just look at the exact warning and look at who exactly is located in here. Take off the radar again, zooming in to some communities in Adams County that are actually included within this warning. We could try to get some road names since this is kind of a rural area. It's outside of Cloverdale, includes kind of the southern part of Cloverdale Road, not even the actual city limits. We're looking at Butler Lake Road. We're not even city. We're looking where it's kind of outside the community. We're looking at a pretty rural part of Adams County, pretty much along the Mississippi River is where we have that warning. But once again, this is kind of moving towards the east. This storm that we're currently tracking over parts of Louisiana. So this is what we're having this tornado warning. It is in effect until around 6:30 p.m. So it's for an hour. There's also a severe thunderstorm warning on top of this because we're looking at large hail, quarter-size hail embedded within the storm, and we are expecting this to be near the Deer Park area around 5:55. It will be actually in the city of Natchez as we head to around 6:10 p.m. So we have a little bit of lead time on this, but just keep that in mind. This storm will be headed towards Natchez again down the line, and I am joined by meteorologist Elise Ushman in the studio. Of course, we're tracking other storms. We've been doing so for the past couple of hours. So what is something that you have been taking a look at here for?
Well, Anae, we're also keeping a close eye on this storm as you head further to the south. This is just south of Macomb, and you are in a severe thunderstorm warning in Pike and Walthall counties right now. Tylertown, you're included in this warning. Here's the thing. This has a tornado possible tag on it. Right now, it's mainly issued for the potential of damaging wind gusts, but it's headed right into that same environment. This is where we have the best energy to see maybe a brief tornado or even a stronger tornado, maybe one or two through the rest of this evening. Just most of the energy is hanging out along and south of Highway 84 for this particular event. So this is where we're going to be keeping a really close eye. We've otherwise got quite a few severe thunderstorm warnings in the area, and they've actually canceled the one that was for the storm just to the east of Brookhaven now. But you head further to the north near Carthage. This was actually picking up some steam, pushing out of the county. So we are keeping a close eye on that. It's no longer in our viewing area, but you're still dealing with some heavy rain, and you're technically under a severe thunderstorm warning there. That's really going to have more impacts for the Philadelphia area. If you've got friends and family there, go ahead and give them a heads up that that storm is likely bringing with it some damaging wind gusts, straight line winds, because it is looking like it has this bowing, the way that it kind of pushes out right here. That just indicates that it's really got a lot of energy and could potentially be bringing some damaging wind gusts. Those wind gusts can also reach the threshold of being at the same as a low end tornado. So that's something that we're going to be watching for the rest of this evening. Even if you're not under a tornado warning, take these warnings very seriously just because of the way the atmosphere is set up right now. A lot of times when we get pop-up severe thunderstorms, they do have potentially very brief damaging wind gusts, but those are likely limited to about 60 miles per hour. That's not necessarily going to be the case this go around. We could have winds gusting as high as 70 plus miles per hour in some of these stronger storms. That could also be accompanied by medium to large sized hail as high as or as large as about a golf ball size. And just last week we had hail that was about the size of tennis balls in some places. So keep in mind that we could potentially see that. It's picking up somewhere between ping pong ball and tennis ball sized hail right now. Again, that's pushing out of the county, so you're not under that threat in Carthage right now, but it is headed towards your friends and family over in Philadelphia. We'll go back to that tornado warning right now that's creeping into Adams County. It's not there just yet, but this really is deja vu. Like Anae said, it looks very similar to the storm that we had earlier this evening. It's making a very similar trek and could potentially have the same threat for you. So otherwise, damaging wind gusts with that storm, maybe some medium to large sized hail, but there is potential that we have a tornado with that as well.
Right. That's important to mention all these other types of threats that we have along with that. We could see not only the threat for tornado, but once again, 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. Now, the particular hazard where this cell that's moving over into Adams County, also 2-inch hail size as well, 2-inch diameter hail So that's about twice the size of what we were looking at earlier in the afternoon. So that's an important thing to keep in mind. Going back to the hail tracker, we are definitely seeing that similar to the storm that's now moving over into Neshoba in Newton County. This is what's moving in from Louisiana. Potential ping pong size hail as well. We could see golf ball size hailstones as the storm approaches, of course, if it manages to hold together. Kind of zooming out and just getting a broader look of our area, we see some hail tracks popping up across much of the region as we've had a lot of thunderstorms. Even the ones that are not warmed, still potentially seeing some hefty storms in other parts of the area. And we are looking at the strongest right now that's across central Mississippi. Of course, besides the storm that's moving in, that'll be near Natchez closer to 6 o'clock. We are looking at the storm that is showing signs of rotation for the storm that's warned. It includes Tylertown, includes most of Walthall County. It includes the southern part of Pike County. If we go to our velocity, we can see an area of circulation that could be trying to become a couplet that could potentially try to spin something up as well. So that's something that we're keeping our eye on closely. Near Progress, pretty much right over Progress, Mississippi. This is the southern part of Pike County. So that includes Progress Lexi Road. And of course, that is moving towards the Tylertown community as well. So this is what we are looking at. There is a lot of the potential for some circulation, but also just strong wind gusts. And if we put on the hail tracker, we can see that we're looking at potential close to quarter-size hailstones within this storm as well. So that's something that we really want to pay attention to. Once again, the southern part of Pike County, heading into most of Walthall. So not only is Progress, Mississippi in there, we have Kirkland, Tylertown, Salem, Dexter. These are all in Walthall County. You are also under severe thunderstorm warning that is marked tornado possible. Once again, for that rotation that we are looking at potentially in Pike County as well. So that's another thing that we are tracking. But some good news is further towards the north, earlier we were looking at you in Leake County. You have been canceled from that severe thunderstorm warning. It's now affecting the Philadelphia community. So a lot of Neshoba County under this warning, a little bit of Newton as well, as we see this thunderstorm moving on out of central Mississippi. But we are seeing other strong storms, potentially tornadic. And there it is. There's a tornado warning that is also moving on into the area. So potentially tornadic storms further towards the south. So I know Elise has been watching this one closely, even pretty much from 5 p.m., if not a little bit before that. So are there any things that you have been noticing within this particular storm?
It's starting to take on a bit more of that shape. Notice how it kind of hooks back here, and then it has just a little inset there. That's where we could potentially be looking at some rotation. This is also taking that same kind of southwest to northeast movement. It's mostly moving to the east, but it has a little bit of a northward tinge to it as well, which could bring it to the Tylertown area very shortly. I will point out the same thing with this storm that we were talking about with the storm that was in Adams County earlier this evening, and that is these are very far away from the radar. What we're seeing is pretty high up in the atmosphere. Now it is rotation, or at least it appears to be rotation. That doesn't necessarily mean that it translates to the ground, but either way, we do want you to get in that safe place now. And that's going to be for the southern part of Pike County and for the southern half of Walthall County, because you don't ever know exactly what direction that storm is going to take. It could go to the north of Tylertown, it could go to the south of Tylertown, or it could fall apart before it even gets there. But we are looking at a pretty decent rotation there where the green meets the red, and Anae's just put a little spin on it for you. That's what we're looking at for the potential area that could be moving into Walthall County very shortly. That's actually just east of Kentwood right now, north and east of Kentwood, and it is going to continue as we head into the next little bit. So this warning goes until, does this have 6:45 this evening? If we could put a storm track on it just to let them know what time it might be in Tylertown.
Yes.
And or near Tylertown, because even if that doesn't have ground truth, still a severe thunderstorm that's going to have damaging wind gusts or hail potentially. Not everybody is going to be impacted by those things, but that's what we're talking about for the rest of this evening, for the rest of our first alert weather day, with any of these kind of discrete cells that pop up just by themselves. That's where we were really looking at the potential for the worst of the weather, is not necessarily with the line, the cold front, but with these things that are popping up out ahead of the cold front. So for you in Tylertown, you've got until 6:13. That's a pretty decent amount of time, almost 30 minutes right now. But 5:47 in Smithburg, that's just 6 minutes away. 6:35 where it gets to state line, and then 6:54 it's further off to the north and the east. 6:01 in Warnerton. So you've got a little bit of time. Go ahead and pan out where your safe place is going to be. Bring a pair of shoes with you and something to put over your head. Bring a book and just hang out in there until we let you know that this storm has passed. We are going to be tracking more of these storms. They're not necessarily moving all that quickly for the most part. Things have kind of just been moseying through the area. So unfortunately, you will be in those warnings for a relatively long time. This warning goes until 6:45. It's an hour from now that you could still be dealing with some of this stormy weather.
Absolutely. This particular warning is saying that this storm is moving at around 25 miles per hour towards the east. So mostly the east direction. It's looking like it'll most likely pass south of Tylertown, but still included in that warning, still need to be in your safe place for the southern half of Walthall County. So if getting a kind of closer in, zoomed in view of the street names, we see this area of circulation pretty much right along the Mississippi and Louisiana border. So the circulation peaks kind of south of Progress, but it's pretty much right over you in the Progress community, and the Gladhurst community also pretty close to that. Smithburg Road, directly in the path of this, Progress Lexi Road, directly in the path of this circulation as well. Zooming in and getting some more street names for you. We're looking at of course, the Smithburg community, that's Silver Drive, that's Mount Herman Road. So this is once again in southern Pike County. So if you know anyone in these communities, there is an area of rotation that could potentially drop a tornado shortly, if not already. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. Another thing that we'd like to remind people of during these types of events is that even though this is radar indicated and not confirmed, confirming a tornado can only be done after it touches down. So it's very important to take the warning and even the severe thunderstorm warnings seriously, because it only takes a few moments for a situation to change. Even though we have not had a confirmed tornado yet, that is still possible within this warning. So moving over into Walthall County, the Dillon community, that's Dillon Bridge Road as well. The Simons community, I believe that's how you pronounce it. And then further down the line, that's Kirkland. This is south of Tylertown, but Tylertown, you're included in the warning as well. Lexi community, Lexi included. The word included was just stuck for some reason. And then Carto as well. These are areas in southern Walthall County that are in central Walthall County as well. You are all included in a tornado warning for this area of circulation that we have just south of Progress, Mississippi, just along the Louisiana border. And this is moving towards the east and slightly towards the north. It'll be clipping the southern part of Pike County and moving into Walthall County is where we expect this particular potential tornado to move into the area.
Yeah, and that really does have the shape of a tornadic storm. So we are going to continue to keep a close eye on that. I want to take you back to the west. You may be hearing the sirens in Adams County because you're also under a tornado warning and a severe thunderstorm warning for the same cell that's headed toward Natchez. Very much a repeat of what we did earlier this evening. Doesn't look quite as defined as it did just a little while ago when they put the warning on it, but you're at the tail end of that warning. Looks like the potential rotation could be right there over Acme, Louisiana, and then it's going to go across the Mississippi River. At this point, looks like that would likely go south of Natchez. So if you live south of Natchez, right across the Mississippi River from Louisiana, keep in mind that here in the next little bit, you could be seeing that storm. We'll say within the next 45 minutes because that warning goes until 6:30, which is when they would expect it to be at the end of the warning. That's kind of how they're issued. It does fan out pretty wide. If they happen to push this further to the east, we might end up seeing Natchez back under a tornado warning like you were earlier. But for the moment, it looks like that would likely go just to your south. So giving you some timelines here, 6:08 near Deer Park, and then crossing the Mississippi River and getting to the St. Catherine Creek around 6:19. If it makes a northward tick and could get close to Natchez, that would happen around 6:30 again at the end of that warning, and then 6:37 getting into the Darrington area. This is still going to be a strong thunderstorm, even if it's not severe or tornadic at that point. So take those timelines and just let them sit, because this storm will still impact you in those places around those times. It just may not have that tornadic potential on it. So right over Acme, you can see where that little inset is, where we're maybe seeing that rotation. Still very far away from the radar, but could potentially be making it to the ground because it looks relatively put together at this point. It is a very widespread storm, though. You're actually already getting some of the rain from that in Natchez, and you're about to get the heavier rain as well as that continues to push off to the north and the east. If we could take a wider view, Anae, and then we'll just see what other warnings we may have going on right now. No more severe thunderstorm warnings for the rest of the area, but some stormy conditions between Brookhaven and Jackson. If you're getting out on Interstate 55 anywhere in that area, keep that in mind. We've got other kind of pop-up showers that might have a rumble of thunder or two, but the more hefty storms have been south of Interstate 20 so far, minus that one that did impact you in northeastern parts of the community.
That's definitely the case. And while we don't have other warnings besides these two cells that we're tracking, one outside of Adams, the other for Pike and Walthall, there was a special weather statement issued for this storm that is now moving out of Jeff Davis County into Covington County. And that is because we've also seen a strong thunderstorm, once again, for the southern part of Jeff Davis County that was looking at potentially wind gusts up to 40 miles per hour. And also on the hail tracker, indicating at least close to penny-sized hail for the southern part of Jeff Davis County. So that's also something to keep in mind. And speaking of the hail tracker, I'm going to go ahead and zoom out and kind of take a broader look at the area where we are potentially seeing some hail as well. We still see some indications across Lincoln County for what happened earlier. Now, as we look a little bit towards the north and so parts of Claiborne County, we are looking at that strong storm that's also moving towards Capaya. But on the hail tracker, a little bit showing up, potentially small indications that we could see some penny-sized hail. But if I look at our storm relative velocity, I think that it could also be a little bit of circulation near the Blue Hill area outside of McBride. Now, this is also, once again, looking higher in the atmosphere. But that's just to say that with any of these pop-up storms, once again, as we were reiterating earlier, there is potential, and we could see the situation change at any moment, just like with this storm that we've been looking at that's heading towards the Tylertown area, currently over progress. It has been showing signs of strengthening. We see definitely still that circulation. We still see the rotation looks pretty tight on our first alert, our radar as well. So that's something that I know Elise was checking in the chat and reading about this as well. So what do they have to say about this particular storm?
Just expecting that it could potentially actually drop a tornado relatively soon, Anae. So over progress, get in that safe place, stay there in southern parts of Walthall County, get in your safe place and stay there. We're going to continue to track this for you. It could clip the southern part of Tylertown if it actually can make it to the ground. I also want to go ahead and tell you that we did get reports earlier from the severe thunderstorm warnings to the north of Interstate 20 in Attala and Leake counties along Highway 25. They were already seeing some damage from those gusty winds and from that hail potential. So keep in mind too that even once the stormy weather is done, you still may have some impacts to your commute or to just getting out and about because there is damage across the area. And that's something that we'll be watching for to see if they have any reports of that in southern Pike or Walthall counties as well. So right now, over progress, this is our best looking potential for a tornado that's making its way to the north and the east, mostly to the east, but it could have a little bit of a northward turn. So stay in your safe place in Tylertown too, or even in areas that are slightly north of Tylertown where you may be encompassed in this warning. It's still going to be a pretty hefty storm pushing through the area. Giving you some times here, Anae's put a tracker on that. 6:24 near Carto, 6:29 near Knoxo, and 6:35 in Dexter, Mississippi. That's not that far off from now. These are moving relatively slow, so you have a few minutes, but in some places you're not going to have very much time. Again, if you are right to the east of progress, you don't have very much time, because keep in mind too that we get these scans in about a minute and a half behind when it's actually scanning. So it's actually already moved a little bit, even though it's moving very slowly when we're showing it to you here on the TV. So you do need to go ahead and be in that safe place a few minutes before the actual tracker says that it could get to you, because that's just an estimate of when it might actually impact your area. So if you're going to be anywhere along Highway 27 between Tylertown and Warrington, I believe is what that said, further to the south, go ahead and be in that safe place and stay there. That's likely where we're Warnerton, excuse me. That's likely where we're going to see this push into, and that's potentially going to travel right along the highway from Progress over to the east.
Yes, and another thing that I want to note about this storm, so when I put the tracker on, that was particularly for the rotation for the area that could potentially produce a tornado. But of course, heavy downpours out ahead of that, strong gusts and potentially hail ahead of that. So that's definitely this tornado. It's not the only hazard with the storm, this potential tornado, I should say. Nothing confirmed at the moment, but we did just get another scan out and we still see that rotation holding on, still holding together. So that once again is showing the potential that it could try to produce a tornado. Now, I would say it looks a little bit less aligned, but that could also just be because we're in between scans. So still treating this like it's a tornado that could happen at any moment here in the southern part of Pike County, now moving outside of Progress and headed towards southern Walthall County mostly. So we're looking at in between the Tylertown and Kirkland area is where the storm is likely to pass through. But either way, especially if you're Tylertown and south and in Kirkland and out towards Dexter, you need to be in your tornado safe place, especially plan to be there as we head closer to 6 o'clock when we expect this rotation to pass through or pass out of Pike County into the southern part of Walthall. So that's one of the cells that we are looking at in particular. Now further towards the north, that with this, they're potentially going to have a warning down the line for that storm in Neshoba as well, as it has been showing signs of large hail. And speaking of confirmations, that's what we are looking at in Tylertown now, the white box. That means that the tornado has been confirmed. I'm going to put the explainer graphic on here to see what caused that confirmation. We're looking at, it says a confirmed tornado was located near Mount Herman. It was 14 miles north of Franklinton, confirmed by a radar confirmed. So let's see the debris tracker and look at that'll give us there we go. That does look like a pretty defined debris ball right over the Mississippi state line. And that is something that we are looking at heading into near the Dillon community. North of Dillon, that's in parts of Walthall County, Stallings Bridge Road, Dillings Bridge Road, and Smithburg Road as well. These are areas that are pretty much right underneath the potential tornado that looks like it has a debris signature. So we're going with confirmed tornado on this storm here that is just outside of Progress and moving north of Warnerton, but except on the Mississippi side of the state line. So that's one thing that we have seen. We were mentioning earlier, this could produce a tornado at any moment. And now we are seeing indications with this debris signature that we likely have a tornado, if not on the ground right now, at least it was on the ground momentarily. So this is something, once again, to keep in mind and to definitely stay weather aware. You need to be in your safe place. Tylertown, especially area south, that includes Kirkland, that includes Flowers down the line, that includes Dexter, Carto, all these areas in the southern part and central part of Walthall County, where we are looking at a radar confirmed tornado that looks like that's what we are tracking heading into Walthall County currently as we speak.
Yeah, so a lot to track this evening. This is where we were seeing the greatest potential for tornadic activity this evening. So it's not surprising that that's happening right now. Even though you were under the lower risk, you had the higher tornadic energy. The rest of the area still has good energy to see severe thunderstorms. Those would mainly contain damaging wind gusts or hail. We'll take you back over here to Adams County too. We don't want to forget about you. We are still tracking that storm as well. It just isn't looking as defined. It doesn't have that radar confirmed spin to it or a debris ball at this time, but we are still keeping a close eye on it for you, waiting to get the full scan in.
Yes, we are in between scans and there are questions about whether or not this one could have a debris signature. We're going to be sure to keep our eyes on this as we head closer to time. So even though the rotation is hard to get a good shape on that, now that our new scan is here, I'm going to go ahead and look at the debris. I wouldn't say that's quite what we're looking at, but there's certainly the area of rotation. I'd say that's fairly strong circulation as well outside of the Acme community. Now, keep in mind, this is on Louisiana side of the state line for now, but it's moving. It's going to cross through Deer Park soon and move into the Sibley area over on the Adams County side of that line, and that will be affecting the central and southern part of Adams County. So this is a circulation that could potentially produce a debris debris signature shortly, similar to what we saw in Walthall County or in Pike County. So just like we mentioned earlier, don't wait until after the fact. When we see this type of rotation, this really strong circulation that's outside of the southern part of Adams County, that's something to keep in mind. It's safer to treat these things as if they're already tornadoes, because momentarily that could change. We could see the tornado, the confirmed tornado drop just shortly, even if it's not occurring right now. So that's outside of Deer Park. It's moving into Adams County. So we don't necessarily, while we don't have the debris signature at the moment, we see a strong circulation. And that is something that we should keep in mind as that moves into Adams County. And we will be looking for likely a extended warning further into the county shortly. So that's another thing to keep in mind. I should put a tracker on that before we move back to the other storm, because of course we need to look closely at what is going on in Walthall County as well, where you are under that confirmed tornado warning. But we need to also give the heads up for areas in Adams County where this is also headed. So if I zoom out and give us this tracker as that moves towards Adams. So I'll go back and look at the direction. It's moving mostly towards the east. So we take this outside of Acme. And yes, that's looking at Cloverdale, close to 630, Darrington, close to 641, Natchez State Park, if that holds together, close to 650. So that's one tornado warning, not confirmed. We have a tornado warning that is confirmed, and that's moving into Walthall County at the moment.
Yeah, it looks like that rotation still hanging out just south of Tylertown. That confirmed rotation or that confirmed tornado is because there was a debris signature showing up on the radar view that did line up with the actual rotation that we were tracking. That's looking like it's pretty close to Warnerton right now. There's not necessarily anything that's of note at this point. It may have lifted.
I would say potentially that's near 27, just because if I put the rotation back on,
right,
that's kind of where the debris signature was momentarily.
Previously.
So, yes, so we can see it clearly here. I think that's the feature that we will be looking at outside of 27.
Yeah, and I do want to let you know, Pike County, you're now removed from the tornado warning. So that's good news for you. Should hear the sirens cease very shortly. In progress, things are clearing up finally after you were under the worst of that storm for just a little while. So that's continuing its trek over to the east, south of Tylertown, but you are included in the tornado warning in Tylertown, and you're still getting close to the worst of this storm right over Tylertown too. But you head further north in Walthall County, you are not dealing with any kind of tornado warning. You're still under a severe thunderstorm warning because this stretches out. So keep that in mind too with these storms, that even if you may not be in the direct track for the potential tornado, you're still maybe under another warning or still going to be dealing with the blinding rain, potentially small to medium-sized hail. At times we could see large hail or some damaging wind gusts, and those could be as high as 70 plus miles per hour for the rest of the evening. I really don't want you to get too taken into just the tornadic potential with this event, because that is mostly going to be for these areas further to the south where we've seen that activity so far this evening, but we also still have a chance to see multiple more severe thunderstorm warnings, and those could have some really significant wind gusts associated with them, along with that hail potential like what we were tracking in Attala and Leake counties earlier. So over Crystal Springs and Hazelhurst right now, you're starting to get into a heftier storm that's pushing in from the south and the west to the north and the east just a little bit. Things are quiet for most of the metro area, but you do have a few downpours that are just sort of popping up in a few spots. They're not all that impressive to look at, but there's still something going on, and we could see those maybe pick up a little bit more. But this is pretty scattered activity at this point. The cold front itself is still hanging out just to the north and the west of the metro. That's really over the southern delta where you've got the cooler air. It's just stalled out there. It's just sitting. Unfortunately, would love to see it move a little bit quicker, because that would get us out of these conditions, and it literally is stalled. That's what a stalled front looks like from the Weather Prediction Center. So where you see the red and the blue, that just means it's not really moving, because it's just been hanging out there for the last little while. Notice the storms themselves move to the north and the east from the south and west. So keep that in mind when you maybe open our free First Alert weather app to see what the weather's looking like. That's the direction that the storms are taking. We need this front to push to the south and the east to get done with the severe threat for this evening. And right now we've still got 2 tornado warnings on the board. One is a confirmed warning. The other is for a radar indicated rotation. We've got a tornado watch for most of the area. And as you head further to the north and west, you are not under any kind of watch or going to be dealing with very much stormy weather as a whole, because you've already got the cooler, more stable conditions in place. And now, you seen anything new in the chat over there?
So we are thinking that this cell that's now in the southern part of Tylertown is potentially cycling. So this is what we looked at earlier. That was a radar confirmed tornado, because we did see a debris signature. And then on that next scan, it was harder to define. So if we look at our storm relative velocity, we still see the rotation on there, but the storm itself, the structure, is looking a little bit more broad. So if we look at the debris signature, I think that could potentially be another one where they were talking about cycling just a minute ago. I think that the storm could have dropped again. That's what it's looking like. And from here, at least this, if I put the rotation on it again, they're pretty close together. Now, it doesn't perfectly line up, but that does look like a debris ball to me. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it looks like a really small one, potentially. That wouldn't be surprising. I agree. Yeah. So we are going to be seeing that maybe kind of touch down or pick back up and just kind of pick up some stuff on its way. And that's going to be right along Highway 27 as you head south from Tylertown. The reason that these things don't always line up is in part because we have to wait for them to load when we actually pulled them up. Yes. So once we pull up the actual radar view of the rain, we have to wait for the scan for it to get to where it's actually sitting or was sitting at the last scan. And then if we pull up the debris signature, same thing, we have to wait for it to update. So that's sometimes why you don't see things exactly in the same place. Also, the debris is potentially going to be a little bit behind the actual rotation because the rotation has moved on and those things are still lofted up into the atmosphere. So keep that in mind when we show you this, but it does appear that there could be a tornado on the ground in southern Walthall County, pushing off to the east with a little bit of a northward tick.
Absolutely. That would be just south of the Lexi community, just to the north and east of Dillon. This is south of Stallings Bridge Road in southern Walthall County. And that's just kind of zooming in closer and getting some road names for areas that are just directly pretty much under where we suspect the tornado could be. That could be near Centerville Road, momentarily Stallings Bridge Road once again, as you head further towards Lexi. East Lexi Road, another area directly in this path, Kennedy Road, Gintown Road, and these are communities that you definitely need to be in your safe place. Pretty much the entirety of central and southern Walthall County, you need to be in your safe place for this rotation. This area of circulation that seems to pass south of Tylertown, pretty much directly in the path of Kirkland. So I'm going to get an updated tracker on this just to make sure it didn't change speed. Still seems to be moving east at around 25 miles per hour. We're going back and forth because the storm that's over in Adams County is almost double that speed at around 40 miles per hour. But this particular cell is looking at 25. Now, we do see on the latest scan, it looks like the circulation got more broad. I'd say from what I had just a moment ago. It fell apart a little bit. So that would be good news. That would be a sign that the tornado kind of dissipated. However, supercells cycle. And what that means is that it's almost like breathing. They'll weaken and then intensify and then weaken and intensify, kind of like they're pulsing or something like that. So I think that would be the best kind of analogy to compare it to with these storms. They will look like they're weakening, but that does not mean that you can let your guard down for Dexter, that you can let your guard down for Kirkland and other areas in southern Walthall County, because this could potentially strengthen right back up. We are still under a confirmed tornado warning, although it does look like within the last scan, what we were tracking on the ground earlier has likely lifted. But still something to definitely keep in mind. That's once again, including the southern part of Tylertown. It looks like the tornado warning has been shaved down a little bit to not include the entire county. So about half of the Dillon community in there. Now the strongest rotation has moved on past you in Dillon. Now it's pretty much right over Kirkland. Once again, the southern part of Tylertown also getting some strong rain, likely some wind gusts, some hail possible as well. The Knoxville community as well, Dexter. We're still in the path of this potential tornado. It looks like it has likely briefly produced an actual tornado that touched the ground just within the last half hour or so. So this is the potential that that storm has as it continues to move on towards the east through parts of Walthall County. So you're still under a confirmed tornado warning there. And zooming on out, looking at a broader look at the area, we're still under a tornado warning as well for the western part of Adams County.
Yeah, that storm looking like it's going to cross the Mississippi River here shortly. And Anae mentioned it's moving a little bit quicker than the one that we're tracking as you head into southern Walthall County. There we go. I don't know if you could hear me for a second, but this does appear like it's moving a little bit quicker over Fairview. You're about to see some of that really heavy rain that I believe is on the Louisiana side of the Mississippi River. But yes, the southwestern portion of Adams County is where we've got a tornado warning right now. If it does not end up being a tornado, which it has held a relatively decent rotation or decent looking rotation at this point, then you still are under a severe thunderstorm warning. That's actually the other box that you see to the outside. Forgive me if I say this wrong, but it looks like Boucherie, Louisiana. That's where we've got the rotation right now, where the red is meeting the green. It's a pretty decent looking one, and it's looked the same for most of the scans, which does appear that it's just holding together and making its way over to the east. So between there and Deer Park, that's where we've got that potential rotation coming across the river very shortly. Looks like it could go right over Fairview, likely staying south of Natchez at this point. But you still need to have your guard up, as Anae mentioned, because these storms really can take kind of any direction that they want to. And I would like to maybe go a little bit further out and just get a wide view of everything that we've got going on. We're at the 6 o'clock hour now of our first alert weather day. So maybe you were tuning in hoping to get some news coverage. But for the moment, we've actually got 2 tornado warnings that we're tracking in central Mississippi. One in southwest Mississippi and one in south Mississippi in the southern part of Walthall County. The rest of the area does not have any warnings at the moment, but we are, for the most part, under a tornado watch until 11 o'clock this evening. Most of the area expected to just see severe thunderstorms that contain damaging wind or hail, but the tornado watch issued because we do have the potential to see a few brief tornadoes like what we've seen so far this evening, and those could potentially turn to maybe a 1 or 2 strong tornadoes as well. Right now, we've got tornado warnings that continue until 6:30 and 6:45, I believe. 6:30 for this one in Adams County, and 6:45 for the one that's in southern Walthall County. That did have the confirmed tag on it. It looks like maybe they took that away because that has kind of pulled back a little bit. It doesn't appear to be on the ground still. There's just not as much evidence of that for the moment, but they have trimmed you out in Tylertown, like Anae mentioned earlier. And that's just going to include the really southeastern portion of Walthall County.
Yes, and you can still see kind of the hook shape of that supercell.
Just a little bit, yeah.
That's moving kind of to the south and east of Tylertown. But once again, thankfully, this tornado warning has been downgraded. No longer seeing a debris ball like we were as that kind of crossed the county line over into Walthall County. Yeah. So this is our debris tracker right now. It looks very messy. There's definitely hail in the thunderstorms, lots of heavy rainfall. But the good news is we don't see a clear little defined debris ball like we did moments ago. Now, this is what our circulation looks like. I can definitely see an area of some broad circulation, but the good news is it's not necessarily a defined couplet like what we had earlier. So definitely understand and agree with the decision to kind of have this decreased from that confirmed status. But once again, like we mentioned momentarily, supercells can cycle. This storm could be weakening momentarily, but as it moves on out into parts of Marion County, as it moves in between likely south of Columbia, definitely could see potentially another tornado with this. So don't let your guard completely down if you're in southeastern Walthall County. If you're in Dexter, you still need to be in your safe place. This is a hefty storm. If you're in the Knoxville community, still need to be in your safe place. So north of Kirkland and east of Kirkland especially, this is Airline Road. Airline Highway, Airline Highway, you need to be in your safe place as well. Looking at more roadways, we're looking at Joe Pittman Road. You need to be in your safe place as well. Now, we're in between scans right now, so I'll take off that radar. It looks a little bit messy. This is just kind of a closer view, easier way to see exactly who's in the warning. Once again, the southern part of Tylertown, east of Kirkland really is where the main rotation is. Airline Highway, we're looking at, that's Coppers Ford Road, and we're looking at Fordsville Road, Stringer Road. These are all areas in southeastern Walthall County, and you are under a tornado warning. No longer confirmed, but the storm could just be momentarily weakening, as we certainly still see the shape of that supercell kind of holding together and moving on out towards the east. Broad circulation for southern Walthall County, so that's good news, but still strong enough to be under a tornado warning for much of that area. Now, I'll kind of zoom out and take a broader look. Once again, it's always good to do when we're in one of these situations. We have a couple of hefty thunderstorms across parts of the area. Right now, only 2 warnings, well, 2 tornado warnings that also have severe thunderstorm warnings near them. Now, one thing to note, the storm that's moving into Natchez, it is looking like it's been holding together. I'll look at that velocity right now. I'd still say that strong rotation it's very tight, and they're saying right now that this could potentially likely be a tornado. No debris signature yet. Let's make sure that's still the case. I wouldn't say I see a debris signature near Fairview moving on into the state of Mississippi, but this is still something that's moving into the southwestern part of Adams County that has some strong rotation. It's been consistently pretty strong throughout the past at least half hour or so. And there we have the extended tornado warning as well. That was at least for Wilkinson County. So I'm guessing New Orleans was just a little bit faster on that than Jackson, but we're going to likely have that tornado warning extended for the southern half of Adams County because of rotation that's now pretty much right over the Mississippi River. Now going to be crossing the Mississippi River near just south of Deer Park. That would be near let's see the name pop back up, for St. Catherine Creek. This is around the area where a circulation will be passing through. Once again, we haven't seen a debris signature, but the circulation, that doesn't mean that it's not a tornado right now. That the debris signature is something that you have to look for down the line. So still definitely stay in your safe place. For southwestern Adams County, I would say go ahead and be in your safe place if you're near the Sibley community. Kingston as well for southern Adams County. Cranfield likely will be included in that as well. So this is what we're looking at, this area of circulation still holding on as it crosses the Mississippi River.
Yeah, so that's going to be where we turn our attention to as the storm in southern Walthall County actually pushes out of our viewing area. So we are going to continue to stay on the air to track this one. And there comes that new tornado warning from the National Weather Service office in Jackson for the southern part of Adams County, and that actually continues out. You're now included in the Homachita National Forest. Right over Fairview is where we potentially have some rotation for the moment, and it does look like that's held together pretty decently. It could come into an even better environment as it crosses the Mississippi River, unfortunately. So we may end up seeing a confirmed tag on this here shortly, especially if we do see that debris ball, come up on the radar. Otherwise, we've still got a storm in southern Walthall County, so we'll take a look at that as well. We don't want you to get left out here as far as coverage is concerned. That's for the southeastern part of the county. That's getting closer and closer to Dexter right now. You need to stay in your safe place there. In Tylertown, you're about to be done with the heaviest part of this system, this storm, or this cell, whatever you want to call it. In Noxo, you're into the heavier rain. That's where you're going to not be able to see very far in front of you. The visibility has been really poor with these downpours. I'm talking blinding rain, gusty wind, even some small hail has been confirmed in many places. The rotation, not looking so confirmed right now, but there is maybe some broad rotation happening right over Dexter. It's just that it's not necessarily making it all the way to the ground. The storm, though, does still have a decent looking shape to potentially produce a tornado again, or continue producing one if it's not already. That's likely going to be the case, as Anae said, as it pushes off to the east, because it's maybe lost just a little bit of its footing for a moment, but it could certainly pick back up as it continues its trek. This is where we have the greatest tornadic potential for the rest of this evening, is in southeast Mississippi, especially as you get closer to the Pine Belt region. That's where it looks like we'll have more chances to see a few brief tornadoes, maybe a couple of stronger tornadoes. The rest of the area, while we're under essentially the same risk, we're really looking at a better chance of seeing gusty winds and that larger hail. But we've got some stormy weather ongoing closer to the metro. And
So yeah, we're certainly looking at more fuel toward the south and east, but I don't want to discount what we're looking at as well, moving towards Adams and Franklin County,
Right.
because this is also a circulation that has been holding on since it was crossing over a decent portion of the eastern part of Louisiana, now pretty much over the Mississippi River, now moving into southern Adams County, northern Wilkinson County, and parts of Franklin County as well. So I'll get a tracker on this. We have to change the speed. Let's make sure this one is still the same as it was earlier. Previously, this was moving at 40 miles per hour. This new warning is until 7:15 also, by the way. This is for Franklin, Adams, and Wilkinson County. Now the storm is sped up a little bit. We're looking at 50 miles per hour, the storm that's capable of producing a tornado. So this is moving at around 50 miles per hour. I'll take a look at that rotation. I would say it's certainly still holding on. That's likely not a debris signature, but the area where it's lining up in a region that's also just seeing a lot of hail could just make it difficult to spot. So we can treat this like it is a tornado on the ground, because you can't always rely on things that come up after the fact. But speaking of the tracker, I'll put the cone out. I have to speed it up first. The storm is moving east at 50 miles per hour. So I'll go ahead and track that through the warning that we are seeing. If we put the cone on here, I put it right over the strongest area of circulation and kind of just track it out through the warning area. You're looking at pretty much over St. Catherine's Creek within the next couple of minutes. Shortly here, we're looking at 6:37 for Darrington, 6:44 for Garden City, and then the Homachetta National Forest, that would be closer to 6:52. Meadville, that would be around 7:02, and if it holds together, closer to Brookside by around 7:11. Once again, this tornado warning is in effect until 7:15, and that is for the southern half of Adams County. It's for most of Franklin County. That includes Meadville, and that is the northern part of Wilkinson County as well. It's for this area of circulation that is pretty much right over the Mississippi River. I'll put the little spinny tornado thing that we have right here, south of St. Catherine Creek, is what we're looking at as that is crossing the Mississippi River right now. An area of circulation that could, if it's not already producing a tornado, it could produce one shortly. So that's something that's really important to keep in mind, as this velocity signature has been holding on once again for quite a while now, since at least 5:30, close to 5:30 is when we initially came on for this particular warning. And that is what that cell is capable of, that's moving into southern Adams County right now. But zooming on out, like Elise was saying earlier, we do have the potential for some other severe thunderstorms across the area. We're seeing no other severe thunderstorm warnings. I will just note that this storm moving out of Walthall County, that warning has been extended on into Marion and even parts of Lamar County. We also have a pretty hefty thunderstorm here over Crystal Springs. That's affecting Terry. Gallman is just north of Hazelhurst. And we are seeing definitely some downpours with that, likely some strong wind gusts within that as well. So this is certainly something to keep in mind if you're traveling down I-55 south of Jackson, so south of Byram, through Terry, through Crystal Springs, through Gallman. You're seeing a pretty hefty thunderstorm. I'll put on the hail tracker as well, potentially seeing some penny-sized hail. So you could be seeing small hail. You could see wind gusts, although they're not quite severe levels. Still, that's something that's going to be impactful traveling south of I-55, or traveling south on I-55 through Terry, through Crystal Springs, through Gallman, and areas like these areas that are in kind of northern Copiah County. Southern Hines is where we're looking at a pretty strong storm. It'll be affecting Gatesville and Hopewell shortly as well.
Yeah, and then later on down the line, could it impact you in Florence or in Braxton, Mississippi? So keep that in mind, especially if this can hold together. If it happens to pick up any more than it is right now, I wouldn't be surprised to see them issue a severe thunderstorm warning for it, especially since it started producing some smaller hail and has some gusty winds. And it does appear that these colors are kind of deepening as this has crossed Interstate 55. I wouldn't be surprised to see them put a warning on that. But speaking of warnings, we've still got those 2 tornado warnings in southern parts of the area. That includes southeastern Walthall County, and southwestern Adams County, where that storm likely is right now. You can see the really heavy part of it. That's where we're looking at that potential rotation. There's likely a lot of lightning associated with that, gusty winds even outside of that potential rotation. This does not include the city of Natchez. You are in the all clear from this cell because it does appear that it's going to continue to mostly move to the east and then maybe move to the north just a little. But you're so far north of it that it's not a concern for you to see any kind of tornadic potential in Natchez for this particular cell. So that's good news. It's still sitting pretty much right along the Mississippi River. Heavy downpours that stretch out far into these actual tornado warnings. So that does include you in Natchez, the heavy rain that is, and then in areas that are just south of Natchez where it's really fanned out quite a bit. So that's going to be the primary thing that we're tracking for the next little bit. This warning now goes until 7:15, the new tornado warning. That's 55 minutes from now. And we're going to continue to stay on the air for you the whole time. In Fairview, you should be getting clear of the worst of this storm very shortly because it's moving so quickly. It does appear to be moving at 50 miles per hour. Yes. So it's got a pretty good clip that it's moving to the east, which means that you may see it relatively quickly if you're in those tornado warnings. So go ahead and get in your safe place, but it also means it'll clear out relatively quickly, so you won't have to deal with it for very long if there is actually something that's making it to the ground. That's certainly good news for us. We did have a confirmed tag on the tornado in southern Walthall County earlier. They took that away. There's our severe thunderstorm warning for a different cell that's actually over Monticello right now, and you're likely seeing some gusty wind and maybe even some hail. That's going to impact you in Prentiss potentially, but in Monticello, you're in the worst of it right now.
Yes, this storm, notice how the direction is kind of odd compared to everything else. This one is moving right a little bit more towards the north. So one thing to notice about these types of setups is that it's pretty much what they refer to sometimes as a right mover. The tornadic storms will tend to move kind of towards the north, towards the east. I reversed that. The tornadic storms will typically be moving east. However, even we could have some severe thunderstorms that are kind of having a mind of their own. This cell that has had warnings in parts of Lawrence County, Jeff Davis County, and in Simpson County as well. That's for this particular thunderstorm that's over Monticello at the moment. That's where you're seeing the heaviest downpours, and that one is moving towards the north. So a little bit of a reverse from what we've been seeing. So this is going to be in effect until around 7 o'clock p.m. The storm is moving moving northeast once again, more north than east. And that's for 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts and half-dollar size hail. This is going at around 35 miles per hour, so I can put a tracker on that. Let's change the speed of our squall line tracker, though, because once again, all these storms are kind of behaving a little bit differently. That's one thing about an environment where you have a lot of shear. That basically means that the direction of the wind changes dramatically especially in different levels. But we're also seeing a lot of wind shifts from place to place. So let's see. Change the speed. This is 35 miles per hour, and that's tracking north through Lawrence, through Jeff Davis, and into Simpson. So this is what we're looking at now, currently over Monticello. And if this continues down its current path, to give you guys kind of a heads up, you would be seeing that near Silver Creek just within the next 5 minutes or so. Prentiss close to 6:30, so this will be shortly for you as well. New Hebron around 6:43. That would be close to the Clem area. And it's still in Jeff Davis County around 6:46, 6:52 for Shivers, and then moving on into Panola, moving further into Simpson County. If that storm holds together, then that would be moving through at around 7 o'clock p.m. So that's one thing that we're looking at for our new severe warning. But of course, we still have a tornado warning. We still have multiple, but the main one that could potentially be producing a tornado for us here would be what we're looking at for southern Adams County. Now the strongest part of the storm is is in the Mississippi River. It's crossed the Mississippi River. It's in our state now. It's in the southern part of Adams County. That's east of Fairview. That's west of Kingston. So pretty much between Adams and Wilkinson is where we're seeing a strong area of rotation, and it continues to see some strong circulation as well. So that's something that is important to keep in mind. Treat this once again in southern Adams County like it is a tornado on the ground. We're in between scans now. We're not getting the best picture of radar at the moment. But once again, on the last several scans that we've seen, pretty much since we've been watching this storm, we have seen strong circulation that'll be moving north of Darrington. It'll be moving through Kingston, likely Garden City, Knoxville, Bunkley, Roxy, Meadville. Those are areas in Franklin County. You are under a tornado warning. We haven't confirmed a tornado yet, but confirmation is something that happens after the fact. If this is not already a tornado on the ground, we could potentially see that momentarily. We can look at the debris signature really quickly. You could almost make an argument for one, but it's not crystal clear. Do you see kind of what I'm talking about?
I see what you're talking about, Anae.
Yeah.
It's possible that maybe things are just starting to get lofted up from that cell, but everything is lining up relatively closely. So I wouldn't be surprised to hear that that is maybe making it to the ground now that it's crossed over the river and is continuing its trek into Adams County. It's looking like it's kind of right on the line of Adams and Wilkinson counties. So keep that in mind too if you're in northern Wilkinson County. I know we do have some people that watch from there. You could be dealing with this near Delarosa or near Darrington in the next little bit, especially if it continues to really just move to the east as opposed to taking any kind of northward motion. And that's what we were talking about earlier. Our severe thunderstorms are moving a little bit more north and east, and these storms are moving more east. Just carrying on with what they're doing. This is likely going to be very close to the Kingston community as it continues off to the east. I will say again, Adams County, but not Natchez included in this particular tornado warning. I know you guys were in one earlier, so if you're kind of on your toes a little bit, you're not included in the tornado warning this go around. But we're going to continue to keep a close eye on it for you. Anae is trying to see if we can get an idea of how strong those winds are right now at that couplet, because you can see those brighter pink colors kind of start to show up, and I try to do that as well, but it's sometimes difficult to really land the mouse directly on the one that you're trying to get, but that could be indicating winds that are as high as maybe 70 or 80 miles per hour in that area. So definitely want to be in your safe place, because even if that's not reaching the ground, or even if there's not an actual tornado on the ground, if those wind gusts are reaching the ground, that's still going to be damaging. It's still going to bring trees down, potentially bring some light poles down. And maybe we should see if we can get an idea of how many people are without power at this point, because we did see earlier that there was already some damage just from severe thunderstorms this afternoon. And that also came with some power outages, because we even had some downbursts come from some of those storms. And that can also bring power lines or trees down. Even when you're not in the stormy weather, a storm can fall apart close to you, and that can still cause some damage nearby. So I will say this older warning, it expires at 6:30. So they're just going to let it expire. It's no longer in that warning. The new one expires at 7:15. So in about 45 minutes, we're going to continue to track this, but it should be closer to the end of the line. Roxy, you could maybe see this. It's looking like it's going to be pretty far to the south of you in Roxy. It'll likely be closer to Kingston, and then continue on likely south of Meadville as well, unless it can really get a little bit more of a northward motion, but that just hasn't been how it's moved thus far this evening. And that's partly why it seems like it's really held on to that rotation, is because it hasn't faltered in the direction that it's moving at this point. And again, it's getting into a really conducive environment. That's where we've got the better ingredients, is along and south of Highway 84 for the rest of this evening. There's looking a little bit messy, but you can still see where that rotation actually is, really close to Delarosa right now. And again, that's right on the Adams and Wilkinson County line. If that is where you live, or you live close to there, please take this very seriously. Stay in that tornado safe place. I'll repeat again that we're expecting to see more severe thunderstorm warnings this evening. Take those as seriously as you would take a tornado warning, just because we've been seeing some large hail that can be damaging. It could break windows or impale your roof. We've also got some damaging wind gusts, 60 to 70 miles per hour, maybe even some bursts that are a little bit stronger than that. So just something to keep in mind. The hail has been picking up with this storm just to the east of Monticello. So if that's where you live, you could be seeing anything from quarter to ping pong ball sized hail.
That is one thing that they have been talking about in the National Weather Service group chat is actually the hail with this storm in particular that's in Lawrence County and parts of Jeff Davis County. It has been increasing in size pretty quickly over the past several minutes. So that's one thing with this severe thunderstorm warning to certainly keep in mind. We could see more than 2-inch size hail. So that's very large hail that we're tracking. Once again, we're looking at golf ball, ping pong size hail for parts of Lawrence County. And speaking of Monticello, we have a pretty good Market Max camera in Monticello. So I'm going to try to find that quickly while we're still looking at this severe thunderstorm warning. Once again, northern Lawrence County. There we go. This is a Market Max camera, and we can see downpours. Definitely look at the roadways. Roadways look very slick here in Monticello because of all that rain. Thankfully, the visibility is improving in this particular spot, but it's really just outside the area, just north of Monticello now in Silver Creek, headed towards New Hebron and parts of Prentice. That's where the heaviest downpours are at this moment. So this is a severe thunderstorm warning. Just like what Elise was saying earlier, tornado warnings are not the only damaging storms. These severe thunderstorm warnings are also very important. It's moving in northern Lawrence County, northern Jeff Davis County, and parts of Simpson County as well. Once again, 2-inch hail, 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. So we could see some strong damaging wind with that. We've had a lot of rough news, but I can kind of go down to Walthall County and give you guys some better news. You're no longer under a tornado warning at all for Walthall County. That is now over into Marion County, and now that's moving out further towards the east. So in Tylertown, you're still seeing some rain, and Dexter as well, but you are in the clear. Our Pike and Walthall County storm is no longer under the warning. So we've been talking about a lot of warnings this evening, but earlier Elise brought up a good point. What about the power outages? We are seeing around 8,000 customers out of power earlier. We see some outages in parts of Franklin County, parts of Walthall, a small amount in Pike County, some in Copiah from earlier. Leake County has about 1,000 customers out. Neshoba County has the highest. Neshoba County had some large hail and some strong wind gusts earlier. But that's what we are tracking currently. Copiah County, about almost 800 customers out of power, around 138 in Franklin. Walthall is closer to around 800, as well as with this strong storm that has just exited. So unfortunately, we'll likely be seeing some more outages in Marion County shortly as that continues to move on out of our area.
Let's take a look, maybe zoom into the metro area if we could, Anae, just to show you, because I'm hearing some things start to pick up here at the station. The rain is at least picking up just a little bit. There's a really nice downpour that's hidden by all the roadways right here where Jackson and Pearl come together. There's another nice downpour as you make your way off to the west. So if you're going to be headed to Raymond from the metro area, then keep in mind you're going to have to drive right through that. It's not all that impressive looking. We do not have anything severe happening in the metro at the moment, but that's still a possibility as we go through the rest of this evening and into the nighttime hours. So I don't want you to get the attention taken away. You know, the whole area is going to be dealing with some stormy conditions, or most of the area, as we go through the rest of the nighttime hours tonight. They've not put any severe warning on this storm that just moved out of Crystal Springs, but that is impacting you just south of Florence, and it's just to the north of Mendenhall.
And they are considering a severe warning for that very storm. As you mentioned we're talking about northern Simpson. We're talking about southeast Rankin. You are likely going to see a severe thunderstorm warning down the line. And there we have it. That severe thunderstorm warning. They are, Elise is thinking exactly like the National Weather Service. This is a hefty storm, and we are seeing an increase in the hail potential as well as the strong wind. 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts and quarter-size hail with this particular storm. That includes several of our counties here in central Mississippi. So that includes Rankin. That includes parts of Smith and Scott as well, and northern Simpson. So you're in this warning in Mendenhall. Let me put the warning back. You're in the warning in Braxton, the southern part of Florence, Puckett, Thomasville. Those are in Rankin County. Now, in Scott County, we're looking at Polkville, Heater, Traxler. You are in this warning. For Smith County, that's Morton. That is Cooperville, and that is Pulaski. These are the areas that are now under this most recently issued severe thunderstorm warning. So we have two different severe thunderstorms moving into Simpson County. So that is certainly something to keep in mind. If you can avoid heading outdoors, that's something important to do for much of Simpson County, for much of the southern part of Rankin, as well as those are our two severe thunderstorm warnings. And we still have this tornado warning as well that we always need to keep our eyes on, because it's still holding on to that rotation. I would say it looks like it's strengthened.
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing. Looks like it's picked up just a little bit. Still hanging out on the line between Adams and Wilkinson County right now. Looks like north of Del Rosso, you're maybe getting this is just getting past you. Just south of Kingston is where we're looking at that potential rotation right now. We haven't seen a significant debris signature, but if it looks like this is picking up, I would take this pretty seriously. It does maybe look like there's actually something being lofted into the air, but keep in mind, like Anae said earlier, we're also dealing with hail, at least small hail, with these severe thunderstorms that are producing these potential tornadoes. We're also seeing a lot of heavy rain and gusty wind. So there's a lot of things going on with this, but you do need to be in your safe place in Kingston. This is going to come right south of you, potentially maybe clip part of the area, and then continue off to the east. So maybe we could get a little street view here and get some names on the board, so you know if you're in those places that you need to be in your safe place. So Possum Corner, we're looking at Hutchins Landing Road, Springfield Plantation Road. This is right to the north of that rotation. You may have just gotten done dealing with some of that gusty wind close by. Looks like maybe it's going to clip you in at a Brick Quarters River, and you can still see those darker colors that are showing up. This is indicating stronger wind, and this is actually getting maybe a little bit better into view for the radar too. Even though it's really just taking an eastward trek, we're actually getting it a little closer to the radar, so maybe seeing things a little bit clearer. But between Kingston and Possum Corner right now looks to be the worst of the storm, really just north of there as it continues on. But you're even seeing some damaging wind gusts potentially outside of this that are still associated with that same cell. I don't know if you're trying to get a track on there, Renee, or maybe just see the wind gusts.
I was trying to look at the wind gusts right now. This is looking at around 60, but we could see 70 plus mile per hour wind gusts. But still, this is a circulation. We can't really overstate that enough. This is what we're looking at, a strong area of circulation for southeastern Adams County, and now heading further towards Franklin County. This area of circulation, we haven't been able to get a debris signature, but we've had a consistent rotation for a while. So definitely I would treat this as if it is a tornado on the ground, moving towards Possum Corner, moving towards Kingston, north of the Ireland area in Wilkinson County. Down the line, moving into Franklin, that would be just north of Garden City and south of Roxy. So this is what we're looking at, this area of circulation that has been holding on for a while. This tornado warning is continuing. It's going to stay in effect until around 7:15 for the eastern part of Adams County and for much of Franklin County as well.
Yeah, so that's our main concern right now. But again, don't take the severe thunderstorms lightly. We do have multiple of those on the board too. So that's our most impressive looking cell. Now that the one that was in Walthall County has moved down, it looks like that one's actually held on too. These are really defined supercells that are pushing through the area. The other cells that we're seeing, not so defined from a tornadic standpoint, but for severe thunderstorms, they certainly are. Over Prentice right now, you've got really heavy downpours that's actually maybe even picking up some steam, and that could potentially mean that the hail core is also increasing with that. In Mendenhall, you're in the severe thunderstorm warning. Yeah, maybe seeing as large as tennis ball sized hail just to the west of Prentice, between there and Monticello. So along Highway 43, do not go out in this storm right now. I'm telling you, you don't want to be dealing with it. There is likely some large hail falling. There's also gusty wind accompanying that, and it's not going to be very pleasant to try and drive in that area. That's moving to the north and the east a little bit. If it can hold on, it's maybe going to impact you in Clem, and eventually could impact you in McGee too if it's really moving to the north. Many places just to the south of the metro dealing with a different severe thunderstorm. We're not seeing as large of hail with these particular cells, but we are seeing some damaging wind gust potential, 60 to 70 miles per hour. That's going to continue for the next little while. And this is really the time frame that we were talking about where we were going to start to see things pick up a lot. So we've got a lot of warnings. Is that a new warning in between, I think, for the one that's moving to the north?
That's when you mentioned from McGee.
Yeah.
So this cell that's moving north through Jeff Davis County is closing in on the southern part of Simpson. And as you mentioned that, this just brought into my mind the potential of a down the line merger situation. That would not be good for us.
If we see these storms kind of run into each other.
Yeah, sometimes they try to become tornadic when that happens, but that's, of course, that would be down the line if they manage to hold together, because the other side of that coin is that sometimes they compete for energy and they can kind of make each other dissipate.
Which would be great.
Yeah, that would be great for us. But we are looking at two different distinct cells that are moving into the same environment. And that seems to be kind of happening over Simpson County and into parts of Smith County as they continue. So I can put a tracker on both of these. So what we're looking at for this cell that is moving towards the north. This is the one that's over northern Jeff Davis County now that had the large hail, the 2-inch hail at least, and the 60-mile-per-hour wind gust. Is located near Clem, and it's still moving northeast at 50 miles per hour. So I'll put the tracker on that for 50 miles per hour. And we are looking at this line coming and continuing to move towards the north. That would be near McGee at around 6:52. It'll be near Mount Olive just within the next couple of minutes. So very shortly. And then Saratoga around 6:47. 6:52 McGee, so about 10 minutes from now. The Mize community around 6:56. Cohay around 7 o'clock over into Smith County. Center Ridge around 7:06 as well if this holds together. But once again, there's another cell affecting other parts of Simpson County. And I do believe that one was moving a little bit more slowly. So if I can go ahead and travel a little bit further towards the north, this is also affecting much of Rankin County. The speed on this one is still lingering at around 45. So it picked up the pace a little bit, 45 miles per hour. And that is moving more towards the north and east, whereas the other storm is much more towards the north. We're looking at quarter-size hail and 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts for this line. Go back and make sure that track is right. So I will get the speed on this one and track that one out as well. So we're looking at 45. So they're almost close to the same speed at the moment. Get that a little bit closer to the line. So you can expect the heaviest part of this storm as we track that a little bit north and mostly towards the east. That would be affecting you, Braxton, momentarily within the next 5 minutes or so. Polkville closer to 7 o'clock, Gunn around 7:09, and Burns near 7:17 as this storm is moving mostly towards the east, and that'll be moving into the northern part of Smith County. So these storms are pretty much in the same territory. Once again, these are severe thunderstorm warnings. We're looking at 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts, and we're also still tracking a tornado warning as well, and potentially a debris signature in Wilkinson. And that's why this tornado warning is now confirmed of what we were tracking in Adams County as well. So this is back to that tornado warning that we were looking at south of Adams County. That's over the Kingston area. This potential debris signature, let's go back a couple scans and see exactly what they were looking at earlier. It still looks kind of all over the place. I think what we're looking at over Kingston is what, yeah, that's the strong area of circulation. Definitely strengthened, definitely. So this is certainly, yeah, I definitely understand, agree with the confirmed tag on this tornado warning. You are now in the southeastern part of Adams County. That's south of Kingston. So if you're in Kingston, though still definitely be in your safe place, especially the south part of town. Let's get some more roads. That's Deerfield Road, Wilkinson Road, Pretty Creek Road as well, and Sylvia Dunmore. Let's see the rest of that name. They disappear on us somehow. That was Sylvia Dunmore Historic, Delta Lake Road, Benny Road, further on out. And they have also even increased the severity of the situation with the strength of this warning. So we notice over in Wilkinson County, they have, excuse me, my voice cracked. They're considering this threat considerable. It's unclear at the moment now if they were, yes, Adams is also continuing that. Sometimes New Orleans is a little bit faster than Jackson, at least loading up into this system. Wilkinson, Adams, and Franklin County. This is considerable damage for a confirmed tornado, a confirmed potentially large tornado that has been confirmed once again, pretty much right on the border between Wilkinson and Adams, southeastern Adams. It's north of Darrington and south of Kingston is where we're looking at this storm. I'm trying to read some more about it. We're looking at potentially a large and extremely dangerous tornado on the ground. Let's see how it was confirmed through radar. But yes, this circulation, it's been holding on for a minute, and it does look to be strengthening. So I know at least you were reading on this a moment ago. What's some of the more information that we've had on this tornado now?
Mostly they're just saying the same thing that we've been saying. The shape of this storm is really exactly what you would expect from a tornado producing supercell. This hook that you've got going on between Kingston and Darrington, that's where we would expect to see that rotation touching the ground. I will also tell you, this is headed directly for you in Garden City. So be in your safe place there right now, especially if this is still moving at 50 miles per hour like it was earlier. Very quickly going to be right over your head in Garden City. So you don't have that much time. I also want to remind you again that when we are bringing you the first alert to these things from the radar on TV, there is a delay from the actual radar because we have to wait a minute or two to get the scan in, and there is a delay from us getting the information to you. So that could add up to maybe 3 or 4 minutes that you're losing when we're trying to tell you to get in your safe place. So in Garden City, go ahead and be there right now. Same story as you look off to the east, Bunkley Road, east of Garden City. If you're near the Homachita National Forest, be in that safe place. Don't get out of it until we give you the all clear. You will likely be done with this in eastern Adams County and in Wilkinson County very shortly because it's moving so fast. But for the moment, go ahead and stay in that safe place, especially with this considerable threat tag. That's because this has held together for so long and because it's looking so strong. I mean, this is a very impressive looking couplet, something we don't often see from these storms, especially when they're just kind of quick moving. But remember, we said that we were expecting to see a few tornadoes with a couple of those potentially being stronger end tornadoes. So this is something that could potentially be that. And it looks like that is going to be the debris signature.
So that's what we've been talking about earlier, where they're saying potentially a large debris ball. And that definitely is what it's looking like we're seeing along the county line. So once again, southeastern Adams and very far northern Wilkinson County, that is north of Darrington. So it looks very messy. It's hard to see. It's easier to see here, this hook that is just outside of the Franklin County line right now. So once again, Garden City, it's going to be directly over you. Knoxville, that is part of Franklin County. That is what it's going to be directly over you very shortly. Free Woods as well. Zooming in and getting some more road names. Biddy Road. If you know anyone, you have any loved ones in this area, or you were in this area, this is a particularly dangerous situation in your area for Garden City. For Wilson Ferry Road, north of Garden City, there is potentially a large and extremely dangerous tornado on the ground. We have likely seen a very large debris signature. This tornado could have likely lofted a lot of debris in the air as it's kind of traveling along the county line right between Adams and Wilkinson, but now closing in on Franklin. So where we're seeing that potential circulation right now, go back to the rotation. North of Ireland, we're looking at Deerfield Road, Delta Lake Road, the areas we were calling out momentarily, Garden City Road. Very strong winds. I'll try to get an estimate here. And I think what we could be seeing aliasing, which is when the wind is going so fast that it looks like it's coming from the opposite direction weaker. So it's basically about the equation. It's related to the equation that goes into the radar machine. But anyway, what that means for you guys is that these are very strong winds. This is very strong circulation, potentially very strong and dangerous tornado that is considered confirmed now. We're looking at this circulation at around close to 90 miles per hour on this radar scan, could likely be different on the ground. So even outside of the tornado itself, very strong damaging wind with this storm. This large supercell that has been holding together for a while, once again, now is currently affecting kind of the northern part of the Ireland area in Wilkinson County. Deerfield Road, Pretty Creek Road, Garden City Road, Delta Lake Road, Benny Road, down the line over into Garden City. Garden City Road, Knoxville, in between Garden City as well. That's where that's going to cross Wilson Ferry Road, Bunkley Road southwest, Freewood Road southwest. That is the area where we're looking at this storm that is particularly dangerous, that could be very large and damaging within this tornado warning based on what we have seen as far as all of the strong circulation that we've seen, the likely debris signature that we were tracking earlier. So once again, you need to be in your safe place and you need to stay there in Franklin County. Down the line, the Homestead National Forest, Bunkley, Meadville, you're down the line in this storm. The good point that Elise brought up earlier is quickly moving. So I'm going to get a tracker down the line. If this holds together, as it historically has done, then this is something that we are going to need to definitely take very seriously. We're looking at 50 miles per hour, taking that down the line. If that storm can hold together and continue to move quickly, it'd be Garden City just within the next 5 minutes or so. Homestead National Forest, you got about 10 minutes. Kirby, still around pretty much similar. We're looking at 7:10, so about 20 minutes out. Meadville, 7:14 is when that'll likely be near you. Food, closer to 7:17, and if it holds together for Eddiston, I believe that's how you pronounce it, Eddiston, that would be around 7:21 over in Franklin County when you see this particular or potentially large and dangerous tornado that we've been tracking likely on the ground at least for a while here in parts of Wilkinson County.
Yeah, and I'll say again, take a few minutes off of those estimates, especially if you're watching from streaming,
yes,
too, because there's even more of a delay than us trying to get this to you on television. So it's likely right on top of you in Garden City at this point. I would be in your safe place. I would not leave it. And in Bunkley, you've probably only got about 5 minutes before it gets to you, especially if it's still moving at that quick speed of about 50 miles per hour. You're still seeing the heavy rain, even though you're likely going to miss the actual rotation in Roxy. You've got this really heavy downpour that could potentially be producing some hail. We could be potentially seeing some gusty winds in that area, but right over Garden City is where we expect that tornado to be for the moment. There has been a pretty significant or at least believable debris signature. So that's why we're saying that this is a confirmed tornado. And because of the magnitude of the winds, that's why they're calling this a particularly dangerous, well, not a PDS, but they are calling this a significant threat to you. So right over Garden City, again, that's where we're looking at this. And frankly, it is a very dangerous situation. So stay in that safe place. Don't get out of it just yet. A few places have been trimmed back from this warning now because this is past you. So in Kingston, I do want to give you the all clear because that was just over you not that long ago. In De La Rosa and Sibley, you're no longer under a severe threat. At this very moment, we are still tracking the potential to see more storms like this as we head into the rest of this evening. The way that they have been popping up right in that southern part of the state and the way that they've been holding together is indicating that, again, we had that good energy, we had the right ingredients for these things to come together. But we've also got some severe thunderstorm warnings that have considerable damage tags to them as well. So I do want to talk about that too. Those are getting closer and closer to the metro area. We're not going to forget about you in Garden City. Stay in that safe place. Don't get out of it just yet. But I do want to just take a quick moment to tell you that in McGee, you're about to be impacted by that cell that we were talking about that could be producing up to tennis ball sized hail. And that's equally as damaging wind gusts. It does look like maybe that's still holding together. It could have lost a little bit of energy over Clem, but still quarter to ping pong ball sized hail. And from that other severe thunderstorm warning that's just a little bit to the north over Braxton right now, looking at maybe smaller hail, but gustier winds with that storm. So those are the two threats that we're tracking for the rest of the area for the rest of the evening and into the nighttime. Again, our front is just stalled out in the southern delta. It has not been moving, so it's not doing anything for us at this point. The ingredients are going to stay the same, which is why we're going to continue to track this particular cell. And again, this is a considerable threat to you in southern Franklin County. It's just about cleared Adams County, so you're going to be trimmed out of that very shortly. but this is going to continue. It looks like right along the county line as you get further to the south. The good news here for you in Natchez, you're starting to see things clear back up again. So I know you guys were under a tornado warning earlier. Again, if you're on your toes, you're in the all clear. Same story in Fayette right now, but we're tracking this storm that's just north of Gloucester, right over Garden City right now, and it actually has intensified. It looks like, again, we also may be just getting a slightly better view of it from the radar, but it's looking like a very impressive and intense storm.
Yes, so that is definitely the case. Considerable damage possible from the tornado alone, of course, as it's looking to be a rather strong tornado, but also considerable hail within the same storm that is now crossing the county line from southeastern Natchez into Franklin County. So once again, like Elise was saying, the Garden City area, we're seeing a very strong wind. Let's look at that debris tracker. I'd say I think there is likely still a debris tracker. It looks messy, but I'll put the kind of tornado marker right there, pretty much right over Garden City is where we are likely seeing this debris tracker, and that is moving through the southern part of Franklin County, moving quickly, moving at least 50 miles per hour. Once again, potentially large tornado, potentially strong. We're looking at not only a large debris signature, but debris lofted particularly high in the atmosphere, as well as what many of the National Weather Service members have been saying in the chat that we are tracking. So once again, a very dangerous situation for you in Franklin County, for the southern part of Franklin County. We are looking at that over the Garden City area, and that will continue. Knoxville, also in Franklin County, Homestead National Forest right in the path. Meadville down the line could potentially be in the path if this kind of moves a little bit more northerly. Either way, very south of Meadville is where that will likely end up. And once again, that storm continuing to move across, especially the southern part of Franklin County, but the warnings are a little bit broad because they can shift from place to place. The storm track can move around a little bit. But unfortunately, this thing continues to hold on. It doesn't seem to be losing steam. In fact, a very strong debris signature, very defined area of circulation, likely a strong tornado that is now over into the south and western part of Franklin County. Once again, a large debris signature being tracked on this storm as it is over the Garden City area. Bunkley in the track of this storm. It's likely moving south of Roxy, but either way, further, get some more names of the communities. Freewoods, very, very close to this storm, as well as we are continuing to track this unfortunately could be considerably damaging tornado now over parts of Garden City.
Yeah, so and maybe we could we'll zoom out just a little bit. If you are in Franklin County, get in your safe place and stay there. We do want to take a broader view and give you a reset of everything that's going on. Even though you're not looking at anything severe in the Southern Delta, there is some rain at least close by, but this is pretty much the boundary that we're tracking that is going to eventually clear us out as far as severe threats are concerned. Areas east of Interstate 55, we have multiple severe thunderstorms. Those are dropping large hail at times, and they're bringing you some damaging wind gusts. Most of that is missing the metro area for the moment, but most of the area is also under a tornado watch for the rest of this evening. I do want to see, maybe we could do an hour by hour view and just let people know what time we're expecting the stormy conditions to be over,
yes.
Anae, because even if you're not looking at a tornado threat for this exact moment, we're still looking at that potential until we can get this to all clear out. So for the next couple of hours, still looking at pop-up shower and storm activity. We get into maybe 9 or 10 p.m. That's when we're expecting to see things start to kind of die down just a little bit. That was the overall trend yesterday too, was that we would see the most intense stormy weather from about 4 or 5 p.m. through maybe 8 or 9. And then we would start to see the severe threat end by about 10 or 11 p.m. That still looks like it's going to be the case. Yes, you're looking at midnight and you're still seeing a lot of activity. That's expected to just be rain and maybe some rumbles of thunder. We're not expecting to have the potential for severe storms or for tornadoes at that point. So that's all good news for you. I just wanted to give you an update on timing, make sure that things were still moving sort of according to plan, but that's seems to have been the case so far this evening. The tornado potential was always higher south of Interstate 20. The potential for severe storms as a whole was decent across most of the area, and we still expect to see all of this clear out, regular rain or severe storms, by the time you're getting ready to start the day tomorrow. And then things will be pretty clear and not clear, but dry through your Thursday and into Friday. We might see rain chances pick back up. So thank you. And I just wanted to see if things were still looking how they were earlier. We can go back to our first alert radar view because I know that's what people want to see at this point.
Yeah.
And of course, now they've actually, that storm that we were tracking earlier in Walthall County has picked back up to be a confirmed tornado. But our main concern is still this storm that's in southwestern Franklin County, and it's still a very impressive looking storm. It still has a very nice hook to it. It still has a very significant couplet where the winds are coming together, and it's still looking like there is debris being lofted into the air. So this could be potentially the strong tornado that we were talking about that we had potential for this evening. We haven't really seen these storms eat up the energy in the atmosphere in the way that we would hope to see them do, because this same area, you had a potentially tornadic storm coming through just earlier this afternoon. Around 4:30, we came on the air with a storm that was moving through Adams County. That one did fall apart relatively quickly. It may have not ever made it to the ground, but this one certainly has, and that's what we've been tracking. Now they have gone with the particularly dangerous situation because of the way that this storm has been moving. So that's what the black box is. That's still a tornado warning, and that is a particularly dangerous situation. This could be life-threatening as it moves into your area. That is a catastrophic threat. Do not get out of your safe place. If you are in Franklin County, if you're in Meadville, stay there. This storm may make its way to you. If you're new to Mississippi, you don't know where your safe place is, that's going to be the most interior room of your home that you can find. We want a room that has no windows. This is a great explainer for you. Most of us don't have basements here. A lot of us do have storm shelters. If you are out ahead of this storm and you have enough time to get to a neighbor's house, go ahead and get in the storm shelter. If not, stay in your house. Do not get out on the roads in this situation. The most interior room, be that a bathroom, a hallway, or a closet that is as far away from windows as you can be, is going to be the safest place for you to get. Take a pair of shoes when you go into your safe place. Take something to cover your head with, and have a way to continue getting warnings down the line from this storm as we continue to potentially track this, because it does not appear to be losing any steam. In fact, it has picked up over the last 30 or 45 minutes, and that's why we've now got that catastrophic tag on it. That's headed right for Meadville. It might miss you directly in Meadville, maybe move just to the south because it's been kind of riding closer to the county line, but it's now fully into Franklin County and continuing to cause significant damage.
Yes, the entirety of Meadville, you're in a tornado emergency. So that means likely a very strong and catastrophic tornado, at least near your area. You are in the path of this tornado warning. We see this couplet, what we call a radar couplet, the circulation. We've been looking at this circulation since, 5:30? Still holding together, and it looks like strengthening as it heads into Franklin County. So just like Elise was saying momentarily, we are looking at a very dangerous situation for you in southern Franklin County, now moving more towards the central Franklin County area. So it's a large storm, potentially a large tornado. That's why there is this tornado emergency for most of Franklin County. That includes Meadville. I'll take off the radar for a second and just get some more names of communities. So once again, Homochitto National Forest, pretty much that storm is going to be directly over you very shortly. Gloucester Road, Bunkley Road, Southwest, Eddystone, pretty much on the border of this warning, but that's something that we need to be considering as well down the line, as this has been such a long-lived storm that even if you are in, I would say, even if you're in the eastern part of Simpson, if you're in the eastern part of Franklin County, even if you're in eastern Franklin County and not in this tornado warning right now, it has had such a long lifespan of holding together that you'll want to be keeping your eyes on this as well. But right now, it looks like this tornado will be tracking into the southern part of Meadville. shortly. So it's passed through Garden City, moving right near Bunkley, and is going to be moving towards Meadville momentarily as well within the next couple of minutes, right over Homestead National Forest as we speak. And that is continuing to move on south. So we're getting some information from Franklin County as well. The debris on the radar is being lifted very high in the atmosphere, and that the tornado that's responsible for this tornado emergency is now east of Garden City, about 5 miles east of Garden City, and it's moving just north of due east. So it's moving mostly towards the east, and that's right into the Bunkley area. That's right into the Homestead National Forest. Some roadways that are included within this. We are looking at Gloucester Road south of Meadville. Don't go that way. You shouldn't be headed outside of your safe place anywhere in Franklin County, but definitely not south of Meadville, pretty much, because that's where we're seeing this very strong, potentially catastrophic tornado moving across much of Franklin County as we speak. So once again, a very dangerous situation that we're looking at across the southern part of Franklin County right now. We have seen debris balls consistently now, likely just a very large debris ball, possibly what we're looking at near the Homestead National Forest right now. Very strong winds. If we go to our velocity, that rotation is just very strong, and it has been holding on for a long time now, right over the Bunkley area. So moving mostly east, but a little bit towards the north with every scan is what we're looking at for this potentially catastrophic tornado. Once again, that is in the southern part of Franklin County. We're also looking at large hail within this storm system. If we bring up the hail tracker briefly, at least ping pong, if not close to the kind of tennis ball size range, hailed with this as well. So potentially catastrophic, severe, strong storm producing a large tornado is what we're looking at for Franklin County right now.
Yeah, and if we could put a storm track on that, if that really does continue that very slight northward motion, that's going to take it pretty close to you in Meadville once it gets that direction. And then further on down the line, maybe closer to the Lucian area, McCall Creek, Cobbs, or Center Point, if it happens to stay further to the south. So as far as timing is concerned, you've got about 10 minutes in Meadville. I would say that's more like 6 minutes in Meadville when you factor in the little bit of delay that we have here. 7:20, it gets to you in Monroe, 7:24 in Edison, 7:30 near McCall Creek. This is a very dangerous situation. Do not get out of your safe place. With it being just to the east now of Garden City, I do want to give you the all clear because it looked like it really picked up right on top of you. And I'm sure that was a very scary situation. So that's cleared off just a little bit. We're still tracking it closer to the Bunkley area now and potentially impacting parts of Meadville here shortly. Outside of the tornadic threat, you are being impacted by some medium to large size hail. There's going to be damaging wind gusts even outside of the actual rotation of this. So keep that in mind too. Just don't get out on the roads anywhere close to this particular area. If this does hold together like it has been, this has been ongoing for miles and miles at this point, or at least has appeared to be. So if it does continue with that same trek, it could impact you right along Interstate 55, closer to Brookhaven, most likely, if it still has that slight northward motion. If it just went due east, it's still going to impact you between Brookhaven and Blueberry Hill at this point. You're already starting to see some of the wide stretching rain from this system in those areas, so that's going to slow you down a little bit out on Interstate 55. We've got a lot going on closer to the metro area too, severe thunderstorms. Looks like maybe we've gotten some of those out of the picture, which is great news. Like Anae mentioned earlier, those storms can run into each other and take the energy away from one another. And it looks like maybe that is what occurred, which is great news for us. In McGee, you're starting to see things die down just a little bit south, just south of the metro. Things are quiet for the moment, but we've still got some downpours that are closer by. Along Highway 49, though, going up from McGee, you're still looking at heavy rain. There's probably still some gusty wind and maybe some smaller hail, but none of this is at severe limits like it was earlier. So,
there's that one warning in Smith County. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're right.
It's blending in. It's kind of blinding.
It is blending in right there, just south of Raleigh. And you can actually see where there's a really deep core with that. So that could potentially still be some hail. That was the storm that was dropping up to tennis ball sized hail
Yes.
not that long ago, closer to Monticello. So that looks like it's just kind of, it really did blend in. It's right there in the orange. That could impact you in Raleigh here shortly and is just to the east of McGee right now. In Collins, same story. You're still looking at some heavy rain, but the main concern for the moment is this significant tornado that's ongoing in Franklin County, and that's getting closer and closer to you in Meadville right now. It's still moving very quickly, so you don't have a lot of time to get into those places, those safe places. So go ahead and do that. Don't get out of them until we give you the all clear. There are a few places that are in the all clear that are right behind this, but it's kind of just gotten a little closer to about the midpoint of Franklin County right now, and it's very shortly going to be over or just to the south of Meadville. Looks like maybe just to the south, but look at how high these winds are. I'm talking on the farthest end of the radar that you can get. Now, does that always translate to the ground? Not necessarily, but we are looking at a strong tornado potentially pushing through the area there right just to the south of Meadville. I don't know if they've got anything new.
There will be a downstream tornado emergency down the line past Meadville for what we're looking at in Franklin County. That is in the works right now. So we'll have that extended. It even includes Brookhaven.
Yes.
This tornado emergency includes Lincoln County, just like what Elise was mentioning momentarily, or both of us were saying, if this storm holds together, that will be moving into Lincoln County. This storm historically it's just been a long-lived supercell. It's been rotating and strengthening for more than an hour by this point, almost 2 hours at this point. And that's why the tornado, and once it touched down over in Wilkinson, that's why we have this tornado emergency, a radar confirmed strong tornado for the southern part of Franklin County. And this is continuing to track towards the east. And we expect that to, if it holds together, reach the Lincoln County area, reach Brookhaven potentially. And that is something important to keep in mind, that this unfortunately it has showed the potential to hold together for quite a while. So this is what the rotation is looking like right now. You see it just south and west of Meadville, and I'm going to go ahead and put the cone on there and track it for you guys in Lincoln County. Now that you have some lead time, go to your safe place, a tornado shelter, or the lowest floor in your house, the lowest floor of your home, an interior room, a windowless room. You need to be within steps of that. You are now under a tornado emergency for much of Lincoln County. So sometimes we expect within less than 10 minutes for Boone, by around 7:26 for Edison, by around 7:36 for Auburn, for this potential strong damaging tornado. Around 7:41 for Cobb's potentially. Brookhaven, it would be closer to 7:51 if this is able to hold together for the next hour. And then near Wesson, if it holds together, and this is further north, this is a little bit north of the track, but we would be seeing that closer to 7:58. So within this hour, this storm is quickly moving. If it holds together, this strong, potentially catastrophic tornado, it is moving through Franklin County, and it is headed in the direction of Lincoln County once again. So this is now south of Meadville is where we're seeing this strong circulation, and it's holding together. It's also including the very northern part of Emmett County, although the tornado itself it's showing up on the Franklin County side of that county line.
Yeah, maybe we could just put the warnings on there, Anae. I think it may be getting lost a little bit, okay. Just because of the county lines too, because when it's a PDS or a tornado emergency, the lines are black instead of red. So yes, it's just a little bit more difficult for you to see, but you can see it better here highlighted in purple. So that's where we've got your tornado warnings right now, Franklin County, that stretches into Lincoln County. There is likely some kind of spillover, I would say, in northern Emmett County right now, but that's going to be relatively short-lived. And it does look like this will probably miss you in Pike County in the northern part of the county, especially since it's taking a little bit of a northward turn with each scan. It's not very much. It's mostly just moving to the east, but could potentially push a little bit further to the north. And if that does occur, that would leave it closer to Brookhaven by the time it gets to the end of the warning, which is going to be in, I would say, 30 to 45 minutes that you have to get in your safe place, because this has still been moving pretty quickly so far this evening. I mean, it's covered a lot of ground since we started watching it in eastern Louisiana. It's already made its way all the way through Adams County, halfway through Franklin County, and is on its way to you in Lincoln County. And that is a tornado emergency. Take this with the utmost seriousness. Get in your safe place now. In a few places, you do not have very much time. We can pull the actual storm back up so that they can see where it is.
Yes, and also
right
we'll give some more updated times, because it looks like this was a little bit quicker than what it was earlier, even just in the past. So there's some areas that are in the track just momentarily. Pretty much where it is right now is over you in Meadville, especially South Meadville, Boone, and Little Springs. Now McCall Creek closer to 720. Center Point, that's closer to 725. So that's within about 10 minutes where that will be right over you in Center Point. So be in your safe place. Now, West Lincoln around 7:30 is when we really expect this to kind of cross that county line. So that would put it near you in Bogachetta around 7:35. That would put you near Brookhaven around 7:40, and Enterprise around 7:40 as well. Eastern Lincoln County closer to 7:45, Ruth closer to 7:50. So this is a tornado emergency. This is a potentially catastrophic tornado now in the central part of Franklin County. And once again, if it continues, it's going to cross that county line and move over into parts of Lincoln County, several cities within the path of this tornado. So definitely keep that in mind. Get in your safe place, stay in your safe place, and where you have a little bit of lead time in Lincoln County, definitely take this seriously. This tornado, we've been tracking this strong circulation since it was in Louisiana. It's going across it's been across parishes and counties. And we've been watching that hold together. So once again, in Lincoln County, treat this as if you will have a potentially catastrophic tornado in your area within 30 minutes.
Absolutely. And that's even faster than it was moving earlier, I believe. So I also will just go ahead and give you a first alert in Monticello. If this really holds together that long, I really hope it doesn't hold together that long. I hope it just fizzles out here in the next moment or so. But if it can hold together, I'm going to give you a first alert in Monticello too. Don't get too far from your safe place because of how quickly this is moving. That would get it to you in about 45 minutes, especially since it's expected to make its way halfway through Franklin County by the time we get to the next 15 minutes. So right over the Meadville area right now, you can see the direction this is moving. I know it's a little bit difficult because it kind of blends in with the county lines, which are also in black, but right over Butte is where we've got the worst of this storm. That rotation, a potentially very significant tornado touching down on the ground, and that is pushing off to the east, essentially riding along Highway 84 here for the next little while. And that's what we were expecting for the worst environment for those kinds of storms to pop up. And that looks like it's still going to be the story as we head into the next few hours. So we'll still continue to track this for you. We hope to not see anything else, but we've seen these cells pop up in just the right spot, which appears to be in east central Louisiana, and then push over into this environment that really holds better ingredients for them, and then they just hold together. And that's what's been happening here just south of Meadville is what it looks like. Maybe not as impressive as a rotation as what we had been tracking earlier. Some of that could be due to the fact that this is getting into a spot where 3 radars sort of come together, and so if we move just a little bit, we kind of lose it on one, it picks it up on a different one, and that gives you a little bit of a different view, but it's still a significant tornado, and it does appear to be moving like it's going to just go along Highway 84. And you can actually see where that debris signature is just south of Meadville as expected. That means it's still holding together. That debris is being lofted very high into the atmosphere at this point from the ground. We're talking thousands of feet that this storm is throwing this stuff into the atmosphere. So a very strong and dangerous situation. Your safe place is the most interior room of your home. Put on a pair of shoes, put something over your head, grab a blanket or a comforter or something of that nature too. Go in your safe place. Don't get out of it until we give you the all clear. I will give you the all clear in western Franklin County. There's not much happening in your area at this point, which is great news. You're done with that. In the Homachita National Forest, you're done with that threat. Garden City, you're done with that threat. But in Butte and Meadville right now is where we're looking at the most significant right now action needed to be taken, which is being in your safe place and not leaving it. Now, it's going to be clear of you very shortly because, again, it's been moving so quickly. That also means down the line, you don't have that many more minutes to get into your safe place, about 10 minutes before it gets to the county line between Franklin and Lincoln. So that's your heads up. That's how much time you've got, is about 10 minutes before that happens, which leaves you with about 15 or 20 minutes in Brookhaven. So be in that safe place. They are continuing that tornado emergency over into Lincoln County too.
Yes, and even ahead of the potentially strong tornado, the heavy downpours are already in parts of Lincoln County. Very low visibility likely out there, where you're seeing that heavy rainfall already near the Bucacheta area, already moving towards Brookhaven. So keep that in mind. Do not wait for the circulation because the conditions will be pretty rough ahead of that, where you are in all the rain and hail that's also associated with this particular supercell. And now we are still seeing a pretty strong rotation. We're still seeing a likely debris signature. It wouldn't be surprising if there's a large debris signature with this particular tornado. So it's still treating this like the very serious situation that it is for you in Meadville, especially the south part of town and down the line towards the county line and into much of Lincoln County is where we are looking at a tornado emergency. Now, zooming out and looking across other areas of central Mississippi, we have a small severe thunderstorm warning for Lincoln County, but the storm has actually moved, excuse me, not Lincoln, that is Smith. We have a small severe thunderstorm warning for Smith. The strongest storm has moved out of that warning. So pretty much we're seeing below severe level storms across the rest of our area. That will likely be expiring for you in Smith County shortly. But otherwise, pretty much 2 strong tornadoes, what we're tracking across South Mississippi as a whole. We've got a whole other situation over there in Hattiesburg. But what we're looking at, or south of Hattiesburg, but we have a tornado emergency here in central Mississippi for Meadville. You're also under that emergency in Brookhaven because this tornado you're in the path and it will be closing in on your area within the next, say, 20 minutes or so.
Yeah, so I will say the actual shape of the storm is not looking as impressive as it was earlier. That is a rain-wrapped tornado too. So let me also say, do not try and go out on your porch to try and see this storm. If you are somebody that just really likes to see severe weather, because you're not going to be able to see very much of or anything, and it's moving so quickly you're not going to have time to get into your safe place if you're not there when it gets to your house. So be in your safe place.
Yes.
Don't get out of it. Don't try and go look at this storm. There's also hail falling from this cell. There's also damaging wind gusts from this cell that are not the actual rotation that we've been tracking. So there's a lot going on here, and we really need you to keep your keep in your safe place and not leave it for the next little while. We are getting done with, it looks like, the worst of that near Meadville. So hopefully we can give you the all clear here in just a few minutes. The rotation still relatively impressive. It's just more fanned out almost.
It does look like it has broadened a little bit, but with what this storm has been capable of shortly, we definitely don't want to estimate it pretty much.
No.
We don't want to underestimate it. And by any stretch of the imagination, this has historically been a strong and potentially catastrophic tornado. And we still see some circulation. It has had, I think, a couple scans where it looked a little weak. The next scan, it strengthened back up. And either way, we were tracking a very large debris signature with this. That also looks a little bit more scattered. That's some news that could be hopeful for us here in central Mississippi, but still treat this as if it's still the very strong tornado, because things can change very quickly in this type of environment with these supercells. So we're still looking at that moving towards the eastern part of Franklin County. And that will be closing in on Lincoln County pretty shortly with this tornado emergency that we still have across the area. So once again, taking off the radar and showing you who's within the warning. Bucacheta still within that warning. Brookhaven, East Lincoln, Ruth, you're kind of on the southern end. It's looking like the storm will likely be a little bit north of you, but you're still in that warning as well. And it has been decreased because of that trend that we were looking at, the where it's weakened a little bit. you're still under a tornado warning, but the good news is that the tornado emergency has been lifted. Still confirmed tornado, but it does look like it has weakened enough for that. So that's some relief for us here in Central Mississippi. Stay in your safe place in Brookhaven. Stay in your safe place in Eastern Franklin. But once again, we have had that tornado emergency downgraded to a confirmed tornado that seems to have weakened, but we're still treating this as if it is on the ground.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be right over you in Lucian here in the next moment or so. Again, in Meadville, I want to give you the all clear. They've also trimmed that as they took the threat down just a little bit. So in Meadville, you're kind of right on the line, which there's still some heavy rain right on top of you, but the actual rotation is off to the east now, again, right along Highway 84. And we're also starting to see a deepening of the cell itself. That could indicate that maybe the hail threat is increasing with it. The damaging wind gusts are also a possibility, but all of this is going to be right on top of Lucian very shortly, if it's not already. And there it goes. Look right on top of you. Things are kind of broadening here. It's not as tight of a storm. It's not as tight of a couplet as it was looking like earlier. All of this, like Anae said, very hopeful for us. This is the trend we want to see with this, is that it's falling apart just a little bit. But I do recommend you stay in your safe place in Brookhaven, even if this loses some of that rotation, or if it lifts and is no longer a tornado touching the ground. It's still going to be a very intense storm, and it's still going to cause some pretty significant impacts, especially if you're trying to get out on the road. Since we're already looking at the heavy rain touching you between Brookhaven and Bogachita along Interstate 55, I would say if that's something that you needed to get out for, is to get on the interstate, I would wait. I would wait for another 30 minutes or so, 30 to 45 minutes before this can pass all the way over. And then once you're in the all clear, go ahead and do whatever it was that you were trying to get out and do. But along Highway 84 here between Meadville and Lucian, stay in your safe place. Don't get out of it. And then once this crosses over into Lincoln County, then you can start to see things maybe a little bit better.
Yes, so we are looking at still, of course, those heavy downpours that are moving in. And zooming out, this cell, it will eventually be moving towards Lawrence County. It will eventually be moving towards Jeff Davis, but it has begun a more consistent weakening trend. So that is definitely good news for us here in Central Mississippi. Still checking those updates just to make sure we're not missing anything. So another thing to keep in mind, the power outages. We are looking at about 12,000 customers across the state of Mississippi without power, as we have seen multiple ongoing severe thunderstorm warnings. Let's see this. It seems like it was upgraded a little bit again, and it strengthened again. Just like we were saying earlier, sometimes they cycle. These warnings, these supercells, sometimes they'll weaken a little bit, and just when we were starting to breathe a sigh of relief, strengthens again. This is why we say stay in your safe place. Lincoln County, this is approaching, it's getting closer and closer, and it looks like the rotation, the circulation has strengthened again. The debris signature is kind of all over the place, but this storm has already kind of had a large signature. It could have potentially already lofted a lot out in there into the atmosphere, and then that starts to spread out, and it just looks a little bit more messy. But we are looking at still some pretty strong conditions, or a pretty strong tornado potentially moving towards the Lucian area. And that will eventually, once again, kind of right along Highway 84 on into Lincoln County here within the next, I'd say less than 20 minutes, perhaps a little bit more than 15 minutes or so.
Yeah, so Brookhaven, stay in your safe place. Bogachita, it could pass right between Brookhaven and Bogachita if it continues with the sort of directionality that it's been on, but it could also make its way just a little bit further to the north, and it could go right through Brookhaven. We did get reports from the Emergency Management Office in Purvis that they have tornado damage there, so that's some ground truth for you that this is, again, making it all the way to the ground. It is causing damage, and that is going to continue for the next little while. So in Lucian, looks like you're really in the heart of it right now, the thick of it, and then you'll be out of it very shortly. I don't know if they updated the speed on this, Anae, with that newest tornado warning, but earlier it was moving at 50 miles per hour, and that's gotten it out of your area very quickly, but it's also gotten it into the next area just as quickly. So in Lucian, you're still looking at the worst of the weather ongoing. Things are picking up in Brookhaven right now, and between there and Bogue Chitto along Interstate 55. This is the time to get in your safe place, to not be out on the roads, to not be doing something outdoors. Of course, I'm not sure why you would in the rain anyways, but this is the time to get in your safe place and not leave it until we give you the all clear. Even the rain has finally stopped for you in Meadville. I just want to point that out, that things are lightening up literally. You may still have some showers back behind this, but for the moment, we don't have anything severe following behind this tornado warning or this tornado warned storm that's making its way across pretty much the Highway 84 corridor here in South Mississippi. And you can see actually that the shape of the storm is starting to get a little bit more defined again, where we've got that rotation. Looks like maybe it's just south of Lucian. Yeah. Right along Highway 98. So that's going to actually put it closer to the Auburn community potentially. Just trying to give you some landmarks here so that you know where it is going to be on top of you, which if that's the story, then that's going to actually bring it closer to Bogue Chitto than to Brookhaven. So just a first alert for you there. You can see where that rotation is. You see these lighter blue colors. These winds are as high as 80, maybe 100 miles per hour. That's just a higher up in the atmosphere, so we don't have any ground truth to the speed that they're at the ground, but keep in mind that this is a dangerous situation. It does have that catastrophic tag right now, or I believe,
yeah, at least considerable.
What is this one? Considerable damage. So in either case, take it just as seriously as the next one. That's really just so that you know how serious this situation is. But we want you to always take any tornado warning this seriously. But for the moment, definitely don't get out of your safe place. If you're along Highway 98 or between Auburn and Lucian, that's where we're expecting that actual tornado to be touching down right now. And that's making its way closer to you in Brookhaven. All of this is south of the metro area, but there's still some stormy weather going on across the area. We don't have any other severe thunderstorm warnings right now. I can see the other widespread radar view over there in case you're wondering why I keep looking off the screen. Just we'll actually zoom out, thank you, Anae, so that you can see too. But there's a lot of rain happening. There are thunderstorms, or these are thunderstorms. There's lightning with pretty much most of these cells that are popping up, but it looks like we've gotten past the severe threat, especially this cluster of storms. There was a lot happening there. Now our main and only concern is this tornado warning that is in Franklin County right now, and it's very quickly going to be leaving Franklin County here very shortly, just within the next, I would say, 5 or 10 minutes.
Yes, and this did seem to slow down a little bit within the last warning. So now moving at around 45 miles per hour. So giving some city names, I'll take off the radar so it's easier to see this warning. This is a considerable damage possible tornado warning. Pretty much, we're looking at a potentially dangerous tornado, which they're all dangerous, but this one could be large, is what we're looking at with the strong rotation. But either way, these are your updated times. Once again, near Little Springs around 7:30, which is pretty much where we are now. West Lincoln, that'll be close to you pretty much within the next 5 minutes. Vaughn by around 7:40. Brookhaven and Bogue Chitto, it'll be between you by around 7:45. So less and less time as it slowed down a little bit, but still approaching your area rather quickly. Enterprise, you'll be around 7:50, seeing this potentially large and dangerous tornado. East Lincoln, that'll be around 7:55. And if this holds together down the line, like Elise said earlier, it will be into parts of Lawrence County if this holds together. Right now, this tornado warning is already along the line of Lawrence County, and I'm seeing in the chat escalation. That's what I'm also seeing on our storm relative velocity, the circulation strengthening again. So it did definitely do what we were mentioning earlier. The cycling, you weaken a little bit and then you strengthen back up again is what we're looking at for these supercells. That's what's happening south of Lucian right now. The circulation definitely kind of tightening back up as the storm gets ready to head into Lincoln County, traveling right along Highway 84.
Yeah, so that's that's the only thing to really talk about. Again, in the broader view, you saw that we don't have a lot of, we don't have any other warnings. We do have a lot of rain going on. This has brought some power outages, and I'm sure we'll likely see that number go up. It's gone up by about 4,000 over the last, okay. We're going to actually bring up the
power
numbers,
outages.
the power outage numbers for you. But now we've got 14,000 customers in the state that are without power. A lot of those in those counties where you were just impacted by that tornado or where you've seen damaging wind gusts. In Leake County, you had a severe thunderstorm warning earlier, and that's why you've got power outages there. But
also, as well as Walthall.
Yes, as well as Walthall County, where we've got a few hundred customers without power. But it looks like maybe Copiah County has a decent number right now, or at least a decent percentage of the area that's without power. But overall, 14,000 customers without power right now for this evening's storms that have come through. Fortunately, it's not any higher than that, but we are still going to be tracking a few more storms. In Adams County, you've got about 1,300 people without power, which is not surprising because that's where we have had multiple severe storms actually come through, whether they were tornadic or not. And in Hattiesburg, they're dealing with a similar situation to what we've got going on. They have downgraded this again, potentially, or maybe this is just a different view of the warnings. Did they downgrade it?
So they did downgrade because of the cycling again.
Okay.
We've seen it strengthen. I've been seeing that in the chat. I've been getting some notifications as well that it looked like it strengthened a little bit and then potentially weakened again. Although I will say the shape is still rather defined as this storm moves into into Lincoln County, as this storm continues to cross the border from Franklin into Lincoln County. So this is what our rotation, I'd say that looks rather strong. Oh, for the rotation, those are a lot of colors.
Yeah. Let's just see what if it updates with the scan. But I agree, that does look like some decent wind activity going on as that approaches the county line of Franklin and Lincoln counties. So that is going to leave you almost in the clear in Franklin County. That should happen within the next 5 to 10 minutes. I would say that you'll be done with this particular cell, and this storm will clear out of your area. But that means it's going to be into Lincoln County then, and it looks like it's going to go right between Brookhaven and Bogachita.
Yes.
If that is the trend that continues, and if this holds together, then down the line, that would put it right over you in Monticello. So I would go ahead and be preparing to get into your safe place. You don't necessarily have to be in it right now, but in Lawrence County, but in Lincoln County, you do need to be in your safe place. Do not get out of it.
Yes.
As we continue to track this tornado.
And while we were on this warning, I actually got a message momentarily where I heard that notification and tried to check that. It was actually a message from our chief meteorologist, Dave Roberts, and he has been looking at the storm as well from where he is now. He's out. He sampled some of the wind from the storm that was in Franklin County, that is still in parts of Franklin County. He says that while it was south of Bude a couple minutes ago, he sampled winds at around 130 miles per hour. Yeah, and that would have been, I believe, along the ground, or at least wind in the storm. Within the storm, at least 130 miles per hour. That would definitely put it towards strong tornado category. We were talking about strong tornado potential, and that is one of the reasons why we had such a kind of elevated tornado warning. And even though it goes through cycles of weakening, definitely keep that in mind as if it could strengthen very shortly within the next couple minutes again, because that's what's been happening. Just moment by moment, it looks to be weak, and then very strong wind gusts all of a sudden, and very strong rotation all of a sudden. So even though this is now not necessarily a confirmed tornado warning, we know historically this has been a pretty large tornado potentially. So as the storm heads into Lincoln County, just keep that in mind and stay in your safe place for sure.
Yeah, so that's the big thing that we're tracking. That's not surprising to know that there were winds that were potentially as high as 130 miles per hour. That's what it was looking like from our radar scans when Anae was trying to grab that data to show you on the computer. We've still got heavy downpours and potential for some hail outside of the rotation of this storm. So I do want you to know that even if you miss out on the actual potential tornado, we'll call it a potential tornado at this point because it's no longer confirmed. But if you do miss that, you could still be impacted by some hail or again, some damaging wind gusts. And that's looking like that part of the storm is going to go right over Brookhaven. I'm not sure. Can we look at the hail tracker and just see if it's still bringing that along with it? It's not that large. Looks like between penny and quarter sized hail is possible, where you're seeing the worst of the weather with that system. So hopefully that's not going to be too big of an impact for you. I'm seeing some lightning flare up on our sky cam right outside of the station here in downtown Jackson. So some stormy conditions outside of this tornadic storm, or historically tornadic storm, that we've been tracking for you. If we can just do another broad view and just let people know where the storms are right now and how things are looking for the moment. We've got heavy ranges south of Kosciuszko. Everything close to the metro is still pretty isolated, or at least very small, but there are some rumbles of thunder, some lightning ongoing. This is going to continue to just move off to the east. I don't want to give you a specific direction because a lot of these are just kind of doing their own thing.
Yeah, they're kind of shuffling around.
And it looks like we've gone confirmed on that tornado yet again as it makes its way into Lincoln County. That's actually right directly on the line now. It looks like Franklin and Lincoln County. So they're going confirmed again. It's picking back up. Don't put too much stock into what color the warning is. Just know that if there's a warning, there is potentially or even likely a tornado that's touching the ground that we're going to be tracking for you. It's still looking like a pretty defined shape, and the rotation, when Anae and I just looked a moment ago, was also relatively defined. It looked like it was pretty strong at that point, and that still seems to be the case. The direction still seems to be between Brookhaven and Bogue Chitto. Now it's saying Blueberry Hill, but that's just a little bit further to the south.
Yeah.
Still looking like it's going to travel right between those two areas, unless it takes a trek in either direction, which is also certainly a possibility. That's the nature of these storms. You really don't know if they take a little turn just because they feel like it or because the wind blows a certain way. So stay in your safe place in these areas. I can't reiterate it enough. That's the most interior room of your home. Do not get out on the road in this storm. Do not try to go outside and look at it. Do not stand by the window to try and look at it. Be in your safe place and don't get out of it until we give you the all clear, which we can just about give you for most of Franklin County, including Bude, Meadville. Those areas are actually dry for the moment. Again, still some light showers or even moderate downpours that are following back behind this, but none of that is severe. You're not under a severe threat, immediate threat at this point in the places that are behind this system. So I want to give you at least a little bit of a moment to breathe from this now, again, catastrophic or considerable damage tornado.
Yes, that is one thing that they've also been talking about in the chat, that when the storms are cycling, expect the color changes because they are weakening momentarily and strengthening again, just like we were talking about a moment ago. So that's to be expected within the storm. This is what it has historically done. The circulation is holding on. It's been tornadic pretty much the entire time for more than 2 hours now, but we'll have moments where it's a very strong tornado, have moments where it's a little bit iffy, or it might even lift up a little bit, but still treat this like a very serious situation as it continues to hold together into Lincoln County. So we are now looking at a likely large tornado, a potentially large tornado, now heading into the western part of Lincoln County.
Yeah, so that's the only thing to talk about right now. I don't know. Have they said anything else about it in the chat?
So what we're saying is, potentially considerable tornado. There's hail as well. Now, this warning is in until 8:15. And we also do want to give you guys a first alert that, of course, this is headed towards Lawrence County. If this holds together as it has been doing, you will be seeing this tornado warning for parts of Lawrence County. So it's a particularly dangerous situation. Stay in your safe place. You hopefully are already there as the heaviest part of the storm is now moving in. It's 12 miles. Let's see what time this was. It was, to make sure before I start giving the name. So at 7:41, this was located over West Lincoln, which is where we're seeing it now, 12 miles southwest of Brookhaven. But it's moving at around 45 miles per hour. So same speed from the last one. And once again, radar confirmed potentially large and very dangerous tornado. Particularly dangerous situation as this tornado has historically strengthened to a pretty large size. We've had, once again, further back when the storm was over Bude, potentially around 130 mile per hour wind gusts. Very strong wind, if not higher than that. We've had debris signatures in the past Let's see, and it looks like we likely have one now as well.
Mhm.
This is the western part of Lincoln County. It's south of Cobbs. This is north of Center Point. A potentially large debris signature with this tornado that has historically produced pretty large and dangerous tornadoes. That's what we're looking at occurring right now, once again, over the western part of Lincoln County. Looks to be crossing in between Bucachetta and Brookhaven within the next a couple of minutes or so. This is going to be closing in on you guys within just a couple of minutes, pretty much along Highway 51 in between Brookhaven, just pretty much right through Hartman, in between of Brookhaven and Bucachetta. So right through Hartman, pretty much in West Lincoln, is where this particularly strong tornado is crossing at the moment.
Yeah, so those places you definitely need to stay in your safe place. Even though it looks like it could go just to the south of Brookhaven, stay in your safe place there. Even if you're just slightly north of Brookhaven, if you are anywhere in this warning, stay in your safe place. I do expect that now that this has made its way out of Franklin County and is fully into Lincoln County, that they will likely go ahead and extend that into Lawrence County.
Yes.
Like Anae was saying earlier, just a little first alert for you because we don't want you to be caught off guard. So maybe you have friends and family in Lawrence County, maybe go ahead and give them a heads up. Hey, yeah. I know you don't watch the news. There is a tornado that's in Lincoln County that could potentially impact you here in the next 30 or 45 minutes. And that's what we're going to continue to track for you. I'm sorry to say it doesn't look like it's going to be falling apart anytime soon.
Yeah.
Historically, it's been holding together, and now it's been cycling between a potentially strong tornado or maybe a weaker tornado, but in any case, a tornado that has stayed on the ground and looks like it will continue to do that. Now, even in Bogachita, because this is going to be in between, these are the areas that I would say are more likely to see it. If you're just south of Bogachita, stay in your safe place there too. Even though we're saying in between these areas, you're still going to be dealing with some impacts, some gusty winds. In Brookhaven, you're probably going to be dealing with some hail very shortly, even if you miss the actual rotation of this storm. So these impacts are still widespread, even though the tornado itself is not touching down or touching every single spot that's in the warning. The impacts are still widespread from the actual storm itself. And it is a very impressive looking storm. We've got more storms on our first alert radar view. They're just not as impressive at the moment, but heavy downpours that are impacting you. These have slowed things down for you just a little bit across parts of the area. It's noisy too. There's a decent amount of lightning popping up with some of these storms. Things are maybe going to pick up here in the metro very shortly. That's a lot of lightning, of course, with our tornadic cell, but you head further off to the north and the east, and you've also got a lot going on there. In Smith County, you've got a lot of lightning. This is no longer a severe warned thunderstorm, but it is still a hefty downpour. Could potentially have some small hail, but it's definitely got a lot of lightning. So it's still pretty strong, just not necessarily at severe criteria. And like we said, this has cleared out of Franklin County, so they've carved you out of that warning now. This is a considerable threat still from a likely strong tornado that's been on the ground for some miles at this point. Right now, the warning is just for Lincoln County. I wouldn't be surprised to see it very shortly expanded out into Lawrence County.
That's absolutely the case. This is very strong rotation right along Highway 45 and that I just completely made up a number. That's Highway 84. Right along Highway 84 in kind of the central part of Lincoln County, the western part moving into central Lincoln County, and this will likely be extended to Lawrence County within the next couple of minutes. And we're also looking at a debris signature again, a fairly large debris signature at that. I'll put the circulation where that is because it looks very messy. With these storms, there's also hail and just other things in the atmosphere in general with all the wind. But the tornado debris signature is what we're looking at, getting ready to cross I-55, pretty much right in the Hartman community along I-55 is where it looks like this tornado is going to cross pretty much within the next couple of moments. So once again, this is a fast moving storm, quickly evolving situation. Very strong rotation over the western part of Lincoln County. This is what we're looking at south of Brookhaven. But still, if you're in Brookhaven, stay in your safe place, because another thing with tornadoes, especially if they're stronger tornadoes like this one looks to be, they can move directions. It can shift further north and further south. So across the majority of Lincoln County really is where you need to be in your safe place right now, but especially if you're in between Brookhaven and Bucachetta, you will need to be in that safe place for now as that continues to cross pretty much the intersection of I-55 and Highway 84 is what we're looking at. This tornado is moving into an area that's more populated. There's a lot of people travel up and down these roadways often, so definitely alert any loved ones that you may have. I'm going to zoom in and get some road names as well. It's been kind of a while since we did that. We're looking at Auburn Drive Southwest. Once again, this is all in Lincoln County. We're looking at Hog Chain Drive Southeast. That'll be moving into Heartland shortly. Down the line, East Lincoln Road Southeast. I don't want to butcher the name. I'm going to have to try my best. Malaliu, I believe, Drive Southeast. I know that I'm going to have to figure out how to pronounce that road name. We're looking at Wellman. You're also pretty much right in the path of this potentially or likely strong damaging tornado. East Lincoln, you're also in the path of the storm. And once again, down the line, we are going to see the potential for this to be extended into Lawrence County as this threat continues. So go ahead and give the heads up if you have any loved ones, of course. And if you're in Brookhaven, you're likely already in your safe place. But if you know anyone that's in Monticello or any part of Lincoln or Eastern Lincoln, Fair River, or into Lawrence County, that's Sontag, that's Ferguson, Arm in Lawrence County, Robinwood. If you have loved ones there, go ahead and give them the heads up. There could be a potentially strong tornado heading into your area right now. This storm has been tornadic for a long time. We've been tracking this once again since it was over in eastern Louisiana, and it's been holding together, being pretty tornadic since that point. It's now moving towards kind of south of Brookhaven, south of the Cobbs community, just outside of West Lincoln, and moving into Hartman is where the rotation is right now, the very strong rotation that is likely a damaging tornado that we are tracking over much of central Mississippi at the moment. Look at that debris signature again, potentially still looking at a large debris signature getting ready to cross I-55 south of Brookhaven. So this is a situation that unfortunately continues to unfold across much of Lincoln County as we continue to track that supercell moving further towards the east. And once again, down the line, this will be moving into not only eastern Lincoln, but also into parts of Lawrence County as well. And this is something that we've been tracking for a while. If we kind of zoom out and get a good idea of where this has come from, of course, we've seen this since it was outside of Adams County. And then we're looking at, if I get an arrow, let's see, we have the arrows on here that can better demonstrate what we are looking at, because it's good to sometimes be able to visualize this. So if I kind of get the pointer, we're looking at the storm about here. Oh, that's the wrong direction. Apologize for that. We're looking at it since it was about out here, and it's gone all the way here. And it's been warned that entire time, and we've seen pretty strong circulation that entire time. So just down the line, if you're in Lawrence County, and I would even be watching this in Jeff Davis County, because this storm, it continues to rotate and it continues to move on out towards the east. So, that's what we've been looking at as the storm continues to hold together, looking at the rotation. Circulation is still very strong. Yeah. And we continue to see the storm holding. We believe we're back now. We should be back on air now. Yeah. Yes, we are. So apologies for that. We had a quick little power hit here in the Jackson. We're not seeing the severe storms in the metro, but we do have a potentially large and dangerous tornado in parts of Lincoln County right now. It's in between Brookhaven and Blueberry Hill, pretty much right along Highway 84.
Yeah, and it looks like, again, it's picked back up. The actual storm itself keeps looking like maybe it's falling apart just a little bit, and then I get hopeful, and we look at the actual rotation scan, which is the winds coming together, and it still looks very impressive across the area that's right along Highway 51 now between Brookhaven and Bogachita. It's closer to Bogachita. You're likely going to see more impacts the further south that you go, right along Interstate 55. So hopefully there are not too many people out on the road right there. I know it's highly traveled area. So I do hope that people had enough of a heads up from this. Like Anae was saying, this has gone on for miles and miles. Would not be surprised to see it continue to go all the way across the southern part of the state. Right now, just have a tornado warning for Lincoln County, but I'm really anticipating this getting extended into Lawrence County at this point. And like Anae said, eventually potentially into Jeff Davis County as well. It's really gone just about due east. Like they were saying earlier, it has just a hint of some northward motion, but it's mostly moving from west to east. And that's part of the reason that it's really holding together so well, is that there's not anything interfering with it. It's not even interfering with itself. It's just going right across the state right now. So along Highway 51 between Bogachita and Brookhaven, closer to Bogachita, this is right on top of you. With that said, if you live east of Interstate 55, in Lincoln County, you need to be in your safe place right now. This is not moving as quickly as it was earlier, but still moving pretty quickly. So you don't have that many minutes to get into that safe place. And once you get there, you need to stay there until we give you the all clear. At this point, you're pretty much in the all clear from this particular storm west of Interstate 55 in Lincoln County. That just goes to show how quickly it's moving at this point. And that means it's very quickly going to be out of Lincoln County and back in or into Lawrence County, but back on its trek that just has continued for so long. It's kind of impressive how long this has gone on for. It's an impressive looking storm, and I don't mean that in an endearing way. I'm just saying it is a strong storm. Right now, again, the storm itself doesn't look all that impressive, but the rotation is still really something to look at.
This is some of the strongest rotation it seems like we've seen from the storm at this point. So it definitely looks messy, very rain wrapped, a very moist environment, a lot of rain, but also large debris signature once again right north of Bogachita, and that is right over, or Bogachita, excuse me, right over Hartman. And what was that, Thatcher or Thayer, excuse me for that pronunciation.
It keeps coming and going.
Names come and go. It's very odd, but we're looking at pretty much the Hartman area, and it's just across I-55 near the Hartman area. Once again, north of Bogachita is where we're looking at this potentially strong tornado, likely strong tornado. We're looking at not only a debris signature, but it's going up high in the atmosphere. And we're looking at very strong rotation. Very strong rotation, unfortunately, for the central part of Lincoln County. So that's something to keep in mind. And they're going ahead with a tornado emergency that's going to be upgraded again as this storm has strengthened once again near the Hartman area. And down the line, it's going right towards Fair River. It'll likely be a little bit north of you in East Lincoln, but still stay in your safe place in East Lincoln. And I would say stay in your safe place in NOLA. Get towards your safe place in Monticello. You have a little bit of time, but this storm is strengthening, and it's likely going to be under a tornado emergency soon. So Robinwood, even though the tornado emergency hasn't been lengthened all the way out towards Lawrence County, it's still definitely a dangerous situation. I'll take off the radar again so we can get a better idea. The little purple box that you're looking at right now, just like what we saw momentarily, that is a tornado emergency. That includes Brookhaven, but the storm is pretty much right over there. Right south of Hartman. It'll be a little bit to the north of Wellman as it continues to track across the county. But yeah, unfortunately, we saw the situation strengthen again. We're looking at some of the strongest rotation that we've seen through this storm, as you've been tracking it now for more than 2 hours since it was over in Louisiana. And it's continued to hold together, and it's already crossed I-55 in Lincoln County. And it continues to move pretty much right along the right south of Highway 84 as it's continuing to track on towards the east. So this is definitely something to watch. And zooming out once again, or you know what I should do with this tornado warning with the new one, we'll look at the speed. It's looking around 50 miles per hour again. So let's go ahead and put the cone out and track this further. Even though the warning is not going out very far, we are once again looking at a very potentially dangerous situation with this strong tornado. So we're going to put the cone on and track that out further. It's moving. I will go back a little bit and make sure I have the direction just right. Zooming out will be better for that, for what it did in Lincoln. So It's moving mostly towards the east. So I'm going to get this cone here at 50 miles per hour, find the exact circulation, and track this out. So once again, it's south of Brookhaven, and if it continues along its current track, that will put you pretty much right along Hartman right now. Fair River, you'd be within the next 10 minutes or so, less than 10 minutes actually, once again, because of the delay. You have just a couple of minutes to be in your safe place and stay in your safe place. In Monticello, that would be around 8:20. Around 8:20 to 8:22 is when this tornado would be in your area. So get in your safe place. Take cover for sure if you're in pretty much you're in the northern part of Lawrence County along in Monticello and north. Get in your safe place and stay in your safe place. That also includes what we already talked about, Fair River, down the line, Silver Creek. If this can hold together for 30 more minutes, mind you, it's already been about 2 hours and 30 minutes, so likely yes. Then you go ahead and stay again, get towards your safe place as well. Be eyeing your safe place in Jeff Davis County as this storm has been holding together. And unfortunately, it is continuing to track into your area. And there we go, the considerable tornado warning for most of Lawrence County and stretching right into Jeff Davis County. So that is something to certainly keep in mind, as unfortunately the circulation continues to look even stronger as that moves through the Hartman community. Central part of Lincoln County, tornado emergency for Lincoln County for very strong rotation, potentially a very large tornado. And this could be a very damaging situation. So definitely keep that in mind. We're looking at a very strong tornado, considerable damage, potentially catastrophic tornado. Unfortunately, moving through the central part of Lincoln County, just can't state enough how much you need to be in your safe place. East Lincoln, you need to be in your safe place. Fair River, and Monticello, you need to be in your safe place as well. Robinwood, Arm, Silver Creek. We're looking at pretty much within the next half hour, this storm is going to continue to travel on over the area. So that's what we're looking at. Kind of zoom out a little bit and get a broader view. I should take off all the things, the rotation, making it look a little bit messy. But yeah, what we're looking at, there is a tornado emergency for much of Lincoln County. And there is a considerable tornado warning, which is basically a large and particularly dangerous tornado heading towards you in Lawrence County, heading towards you in the western part of Jeff Davis County as well.
Yeah, so these warnings will continue until
we're looking at this one. It was issued at 7:55. The Lincoln County tornado emergency is until, let's see, the screen is moving very fast now with all these different warnings. And 8:15 is for Lincoln County. And let's look at further down for Lawrence with this considerable. That's until 9 p.m. actually. And that makes sense. It's 8 o'clock now.
Right.
And you and Lawrence and Jeff Davis, you are in this tornado warning now until 9 o'clock. And once again, this is not just we might have a spin up. We pretty much confirmed that we have a very large and very dangerous tornado on the ground.
Yeah, so now's the time to call your friends and family that are in Lawrence and Jeff Davis counties. If they're in eastern Lincoln County, they may already be dealing with this storm, but you have time to give people a little bit of a heads up. In Lawrence and Jeff Davis counties, it's also a good time to call and check in on your people that may be in Southern Adams or Franklin counties where this storm passed through just earlier. Maybe give them a little call and just see how they're doing, check in on them, and then you can do the same for Lincoln County here shortly. They've trimmed this back a little bit again, so western Lincoln County, you're in the all clear. Like I said, this has already made its way across Interstate 55, and you can very easily see where the rotation is. It's really just going to continue essentially just south of Highway 84, right close to there, and that means some impacts for you in Monticello likely, and eventually down the line closer to Prentice. Otherwise, you could be seeing some hail from this storm. You could be seeing damaging wind gusts from this storm. Other storms across the metro area, not severe at this point, but we do still have a lot of activity going on. And that's going to still be the story for the rest of the evening. I would hope that once we get done with this, that things will kind of calm down just a little bit. We've certainly gotten done with our severe thunderstorm warnings at this point for the moment. So that's good news too. But it looked like a lot of the energy was really going to start to die down by about 10 o'clock this evening. So we're getting closer and closer to that window of the severe threat closing and things just turning to more of a rain event as we head into the overnight hours. This was not expected to be an overnight event. This is a time that a lot of people are up and they're moving around, and hopefully they've had multiple ways to get warnings all day. Right now, I do again urge you to just call and let your people in Lawrence and Jeff Davis counties know that they're under a very serious tornado warning, and they do need to be in their safe place right now. And that also is true for you in eastern Lincoln County. We are watching for, this is a tornado emergency in Lincoln County still, and they could upgrade that again as this makes its way further downstream. They're, I think, just trying to be a little bit cautious of the wording that they're giving you from the National Weather Service office, but there's a really significant debris signature with this. Very easy to tell where the actual tornado is, and that means it has gone through some things, be that homes or woods, and is lofting debris very high in the atmosphere at this point. That's expected to continue as this continues to touch the ground. It has been confirmed because of that debris signature. We can consider it a confirmed tornado. We know that it's touching the ground. We know it's lofting debris into the air. We know that you need to be in your safe place, and you need to not leave your safe place until we give you the all clear.
And extremely intense circulation. This is a very strong tornado, could potentially even approach the category of violent tornado, which basically is just very damaging with this storm. We're looking at a lot of debris. We're looking at very strong wind. So keep that in mind. And once again, this is also moving into Lawrence County. We have cameras there, and we have already been seeing out of our Market Max cam a lot of lightning. The storm is not quite in Monticello right now, but I should say the tornadic part of the storm, but the severe levels already. You can already see the downpours. You can already see all that lightning just intensifying, and just that lightning picking up across the area. Our radar pretty much covered in lightning, and that intensification, that is a telltale sign of a very intensifying, a strong thunderstorm. And we see headlights, unfortunately, people in Lawrence County. Head to your safe place and just stay there. Honestly, since the conditions are already worsening ahead of the storm, when we're giving the time out for when the actual tornadic part of the storm will be in your area, keep in mind that the downpours will be before that. The hail, that could be before that. The strong wind gusts, the damaging wind, that's before the tornado. So it's not a good time to head anywhere out in Lawrence County. When we say get in your safe place, that's in your home where you are, in your building, wherever you are. The roadways are not safe. That's what it looks like in Monticello right now, as you could just see all that lightning, likely seeing those strong winds, the heavy rainfall. So wherever you are in Lawrence County, shelter. You need to take shelter now and stay there for sure.
Yeah, I feel like that really tells to the intensity of the storm. Of course, we usually use lightning actually as a tell for when storms are intensifying to see if they're really picking up some steam. That's something that we use when we're trying to track and see if something maybe has dropped a tornado or not. At this point, we know that this storm has a tornado that's touching the ground. It's lofting debris into the atmosphere. It's a very dangerous situation. It's going to be in Monticello very shortly. I would say 10 minutes, and you're going to start to see that. And they've actually upgraded the warning because this rotation has stayed so strong with the last few scans. You're going to stay in a tornado emergency in eastern Lincoln County. They've upgraded you to a tornado emergency in Lawrence County and in western Jeff Davis County. This area is, of course, where you have the most time to get to that safe place. It's still not that much time. This storm is moving at 50 miles per hour. So you've got 10, maybe 15 minutes in Monticello to get into your safe place. That means maybe you've got 20 to 30 minutes closer to Prentice to get into your safe place. And in fact, let's go ahead and put another storm track on it, Anae, and get some names so people can see exactly when it's going to be close to them. Now, keep in mind, again, I'll remind you that things are a little bit delayed. The radar scans are a little bit delayed. It takes about a minute or two for us to get the data. Then it takes a little while, not too long, but if you're watching on streaming, it takes about 2 minutes for you to get the information from us when we're live. And it also takes, a few seconds. So we'll just add, or I would say subtract a few minutes from the tracks when we put them on for you, because the storm will actually be a little bit closer than what it seems like to the actual radar site.
And
so
another thing that I want to note as I add this cone on is when we say you have a couple of minutes, that is a couple minutes in pouring rain, in blinding rain, a couple minutes in strong wind
I don't
gusts.
mean a couple minutes to leave the house.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean a couple minutes to
stay
get from your living room to your
hallway.
bathroom or your hallway
Yeah.
that you consider your safe place in your house. This is not the time to leave and to go anywhere. Now, if you're in Monticello, maybe this takes, again, 10 or 15 minutes to get to you.
It has slowed down a little bit, or slowed down just a little bit. We're looking at 35 miles per hour now.
Okay.
But honestly, a lot of that energy is just being put into producing a very large tornado at this moment. Now is what we're looking at with this very, very strong rotation. The wind in the storm itself, pretty fast. And it looks like that's actually slowed it down a little bit. So it's moving east at around 30 miles per hour, 35 miles per hour, but still it's holding together. It looks pretty strong out there as well. So give or take somewhere between 20-ish to 30 minutes in Monticello. I'll give it a lot of time, or give it a wide frame, because it's been speeding up and slowing down. Earlier, it was going around 50 miles per hour. The latest scans has been looking like closer to 35, but it could speed up. So by around 8:20 to 8:30, let's say Monticello, we're giving it a little bit broader times. By around 8:40-ish, Silver Creek, Prentice, closer to 9, just before that, around 8:50 to 9 o'clock. And then Carson, if it holds together for that long, then that will be closer to 9 o'clock p.m. as well. And once again, kind of taking that tracker off, the area of circulation, I'll put the circulation where you can see that right now. This is what we're looking at. Very strong rotation now in pretty much over East Lincoln at this point. I can zoom in and get some of those road names of where we're looking at this very strong circulation. So once again, if you have any loved ones in East Lincoln, you need to have them in their safe place. Be in your safe place and stay in your safe place as well. And any loved ones south of Fair River, if you know people that are over in Lawrence County, East Lincoln Road that goes over into Lawrence County, Carmel New Hope Road, NOLA Road, Monticello, for us especially, one of the more populated towns that's right in the path of this, unfortunately, very strong tornado. I'll be headed towards Monticello. That'll be headed near Arm. It'll be near you in Silver Creek as well, near you in Ferguson. Once again, so all those are, I could take off the radar and look at everyone exactly who's included within this tornado emergency. We're looking at Robinwood. You're also in that tornado emergency. And that's, once again, it's a pretty rural area, but we're looking at Frog Ridge Road, trying to get some more areas, see if I can jog anyone's memory, in Lawrence County, because this is right where the storm is headed within the next several minutes. Forest Grove Road, and we're looking at Miles Hill Road as well. And this is the western part of Lincoln County. If I zoom out a little bit and put the radar back on so we can look at this very strong rotation and likely very large and damaging tornado that is now traveling through the eastern part of Lincoln County, and it is quickly heading into Lawrence County as well.
Yeah, so this is still, again, the only storm to track. You need to stay in your safe place. In Brookhaven, you are in the all clear. In Bogachita, you're in the clear. We're just about getting this out of Lincoln County. So very shortly, we'll be able to give you the all clear in Lincoln County as a whole. But right now, it's sitting over eastern Lincoln County. Like we said, picking up speed and losing speed a little bit. So the timelines that we've given you, 10, 20 minutes, I would go with the shorter end of the time frame in case it does pick up some speed and move a little bit quicker, which means in Monticello, go ahead and be in your safe place. Really you got about 8 minutes until it gets to the shorter end of the time frame that we gave you, but why not just go ahead and be there? Again, this is not the time for you to get out on the roads or to try and go somewhere else. That would have been earlier this evening. Now, in Jeff Davis County, you do have a little bit of time for that. If you have a neighbor that has a storm shelter or a better safe place that you would prefer to be in, then you have some time to go ahead and do that if the drive to them is 10 or 15 minutes. We are expecting it to be in Lawrence County within 10 to 15 minutes. And by that point, I want you to be in your safe place in Jeff Davis County. I hope that makes sense. be in your safe place right now in Lawrence County. Even though this is just now starting to cross over the county line, it's still riding pretty close to Highway 84. It's really just south of Highway 84. That's likely going to mean some impacts to the southern part of Monticello. Outside of the actual rotation, there will be other impacts from this storm. There will be gusty winds. There will potentially be some hail. I'm not sure that we're still getting any truth from that on maybe we could pull the hail tracker up in but we certainly were seeing that with this storm earlier. It's at least bringing you some small hail, and at times we've seen it pick up to closer to about quarter-sized hail in some places. So that's a secondary impact. The heavy rain, of course, an impact, but again, we don't want you to be out anywhere close to this cell regardless. Yeah. So I'm not really factoring in the rain because you should not be on the roads when there's a tornado emergency in your county either way. The rest of the area, you're okay to be out on the roads, but there's some rain that's certainly going to slow things down for you. There are some rumbles of thunder, some gusty winds. We don't have any severe thunderstorm warnings right now. I'm checking on our zoomed out view, and we can just show you that just so that you have an idea of how things are shaping up across the rest of the area. Remember, this was a first alert weather day. We were expecting to see a few severe thunderstorm warnings. We certainly saw those. We did also expect to see a few tornadoes. There was some potential for a strong tornado or two, and it's just unfortunately been true that these storms have tapped into, or this storm has tapped into that potential. And that's what we've got, is a strong tornado that has been on the ground for miles and miles and miles since it was in Louisiana. It's now almost all the way into East Mississippi. It will be shortly. It's crossed over Interstate 55. It's getting closer to Monticello right now. Be in your safe place. Don't leave it. I can't stress that or say it enough. Yeah. And then we'll show you again where the actual storm is at for the moment. There's really just not much else to say. So I apologize that I'm just repeating myself, but there's one storm. It's a very serious and dangerous storm. It is a tornado emergency. That's why the outline is black. I know it's a little bit more difficult to see because of that. Yes. But that's what it is. It's also just west of Monticello right now, right south of Highway 84. This has historically had a very, very slight northward motion. So it could kind of ride along Highway 84 in the next short while, and that would put it right through the heart of Monticello. Of course, we would hope that it would just fizzle out, like I said earlier, but that hasn't been the case so far. Yeah, that is the case, and we're repeating ourselves, but it's worth reiterating because it's not every day you have tornado emergencies across counties, especially, these are not. We have all of our areas, of course, we have our viewers in, but we have lots of cities kind of lined up in the path of this storm that we've been looking at as it tracks through Lincoln County and as it's tracking through parts of Lawrence County as well. Now, the debris signature still looking like we could have a pretty defined debris signature south of Fair River here. And once again, it's getting ready to cross the county line. So we expect this to be here, getting some more times on this storm at the earliest, especially in the western part of Monticello. You could be seeing that as early as 8:20. So that's within just a couple of minutes is when we're looking at this very strong rotation to be moving into Monticello. Once again, it's along Highway 84, pretty much just south of Highway 84 and tracking across central Lawrence County is where we have this storm. And that's why you're under a tornado emergency across much of Lawrence County. And that includes Carmel, New Hope. You'll pretty much be right in the path of this very strong circulation. We're looking at trying to get some more road names here. St. Stephen's Road, Old St. Stephen's Road as well. And that's a little bit further into the eastern part of Lawrence County. But this circulation likely pretty much already crossed the county line between Lincoln and Lawrence counties. It'll probably be helpful to take off the radar for a little bit and just see who's exactly in that warning. And it is most of central Lawrence County. But once again, the heart of Monticello, which of course is where most of people would live, and this county would be, that's pretty much where we're looking at in the path of this storm. But Silver Creek down the line, you're also within the path of this storm. And then White Sand down the line in Jefferson Davis County is where you are expecting to be in the path of this, once again, potentially very large and dangerous tornado that's likely on the ground, if not has been just moments ago, because we're still looking at a potentially large debris signature on our first alert radar. We're still looking at very strong circulation.
it doesn't look like it's showing signs of letting up. Unfortunately, it looks like there's this pretty strong rotation that's now crossing the county line into Lawrence County. So we're looking at the tornado movement that let's see, we're getting some updates. It's showing a little bit of a bend, they're saying. So basically the storm could dissipate. It's starting to kind of shift a little bit towards the left, which would make it a little bit more of a northerly turn, which unfortunately once again is still tracking that right into Monticello. But it's still holding on. It still looks like a strong storm at the moment. Is it slightly weaker than what it was just several minutes ago? That's technically true, but what it was several minutes ago was very, very strong. So likely still a tornado on the ground. Either way, still something to take seriously. And you're still under a tornado emergency for most of Lawrence County, and once again, part of Jeff Davis County as well. We expect this to be in Monticello within just the next few minutes. So stay in your safe place. You're likely hearing those downpours, potentially some hail, some strong wind gusts. Well, there's also, unfortunately, a potentially strong tornado still on the ground that's heading in that direction. So once again, stay in the safe place. Don't try to go look at it. It's dark. It's after 8 p.m., but you're seeing a lot of lightning flashes. So stay in that safe place for sure. Just cannot understate how potentially dangerous the situation could be.
And with that crossing over the county line now, I can give you the all clear in Lincoln County. So that's some good news in all of this. They're going to trim that warning back shortly. Of course, as this continues to cycle, they may even downgrade it a little bit. And hopefully it falls apart very shortly. Yeah. Now, that doesn't mean that you'll necessarily be in the clear just yet. It's still a very strong thunderstorm. So even if it falls apart, which it has not done yet, there's still a very easy to look at rotation here, even just with the rain scan. And of course, same story when you look at the actual winds and where they're meeting up. But this is now across the county line. It's still right south of Highway 84, but it's so close to Highway 84. I would expect it to make its way right into Monticello here in the next few minutes. That means you do not have any extra time. So I'm glad we went with the lower end of the time frame, 8:20. You need to be in your safe place right now because, again, this is a little bit delayed. What we're seeing from the scans, the storm is going to be a little bit ahead of that because it's moving as we're getting the data in. So you have to keep that in mind when we're showing you roads and we're trying to show you things that are out ahead of the storm. It's closer than you might think that it is, especially when it's moving as quickly as it has been. This has slowed down a little bit to about 35 or 40 miles per hour as opposed to 50, but it's still going to be in the Monticello area here in the next few minutes. So you need to be in your safe place. Call your friends, tell them to get in their safe place, your neighbors. Don't go outside though. Don't try to go somewhere else. Just hunker down where you are. Put a pair of shoes on, put a pot over your head or a helmet if you have one inside. Don't go out to your bike to get it. And just stay in that safe place until we give you the all clear. You have the all clear in Lincoln County now. So again, some good news in this situation. It is not going to take this storm very long to cross Lawrence County. I know it's a relatively sizely county, but it is moving at a steady pace at this point. So it's going to be in Jeff Davis County within the next 20 or 30 minutes. We'll say 45 minutes at the most. And that's would take us to the end of this tornado warning. But if this continues with the cycle that it has, then that warning would again be extended through the end of Jeff Davis County. And that would really be something that would mean this storm has gone from Louisiana almost all the way across Mississippi. And at this point, it's gone at least halfway across Mississippi because it's made it across Interstate 55. So in Monticello, be in your safe place. Don't get out of it at this time. This is a tornado emergency. That is the highest threat that they can possibly give you to try and let you know how serious of a situation this is. If we can look at the rotation again, Anae.
Yeah, it did show those signs of it's still strong. It's not quite as devastating looking as it was earlier, but that kind of reminds me of a point that you brought up a moment ago about a storm potentially falling apart. And another thing about severe storms is that you have the downbursts. So pretty much even if a storm is starting to dissipate, then it's going to produce very strong straight line winds ahead of that as everything that's in it kind of starts to fall out. So even if you have a tornadic storm that's weakening, you still want to take shelter out ahead of that because you're going to get some pretty strong winds kicking out right as that storm starts to dissipate. But we're not even necessarily looking at that right now. We're looking at a rotation that is still likely a tornado, on the ground, still treating this as confirmed. And that is, it's not looking quite as strong as it was earlier, but even a slightly weaker tornado, still a tornado, of course, still a dangerous situation. And once again, we're seeing that tracking through the central part of Lawrence County right now. Once again, right along the southern part of right just south of Highway 84. And we are looking at that continuing to head into Monticello just within the next couple of minutes. It'll likely be in Monticello before 8:30. And we'll continue to track that out across St. Stephen's Road, and then south of Silver Creek. It would likely be closer to the White Sand area as that starts to approach once again, the western part of Jeff Davis. So we are still looking at a very defined circulation. It looks slightly weaker than what it was earlier, but that is still a tornado, still something to take seriously. And that is what we're looking at.
So with this actually being in a little bit of a down cycle, I think this is a good time for us to get some outside information. And our Howard Ballou is standing by here. He's got somebody on the line that he's going to talk to about how these storms have been impacting the area. Howard.
All right, Elisa and Anae, we're talking, I believe, to Scott Simmons right now. Is that correct? All right. If not, we're probably going to be talking to Maddie Powell. And she is the director of EMA in Wilkinson County. And Maddie, can you hear me okay? She's going to give us an assessment of some of the damage in that area. We do understand that there have been some cases where there were trapped individuals that had to be removed or rescued from those areas. But if we have Maddie Powell of Wilkinson County on the line right now, we want to speak with her about that and get an update on the information. Maddie, are you there? Okay, apparently she's not there. Maddie Powell. Hello, can you hear me okay, Miss Powell?
Yes, I can now.
Oh, good. Okay, very good. Yeah, I know it's a stormy situation there, and probably communication is limited. But if you would give us an update on what's going on in Wilkinson County right now.
Okay, what happened? Somewhat near 7 o'clock, we had a large and dangerous tornado touchdown in the Crosby area. That's near Perrytown, Garden City, and the area of Oak Grove Church. We had several residents trapped in. We still have trees on the highway, on Highway 33 near Garden City. One resident I'm finding that's still trapped, and they have not been able to get her out. The family is working tirelessly. 5th District Supervisor is working tirelessly, and they have not been able to get her out. The other residents that were trapped in, they have gained access to them, and they are out. The ones that were in the automobile, the ones that were in their homes. We do have homes with damage. But I'm not certain right now. This is still being assessed. I've reached out and had American Red Cross on standby if there's shelter needed. I also had Mississippi Highway Patrolman that is working with us on this situation.
Very quickly, have there been any injuries to report?
This time, as I said, we have it's dark now, so we really can't see where everyone is. But we are working on trying to see if there's anyone. Right now, no one has reported injuries. Just injuries, damage to the homes, roadways, yards, and things like that.
Maddie Powell, Director of Wilkinson County EMA, thank you for sharing your time with us. I know it's pretty busy out there. Let's check back in with our meteorologist now.
All right, Howard, I was just reading an email. It sounds like we're getting some reports of some flash flooding in Leake County. So just something else to note, that we're dealing with stormy weather. We've got a significant tornado that's been on the ground, a tornado emergency for Lawrence County right now that does technically extend into western Jeff Davis County. But outside of that, still a lot more stormy weather that's going on and heavy downpours that are sort of just staying in the same places. There's not a flash flood warning here in central Mississippi. There is a flash flood warning in Louisiana because, again, these storms are sort of just hanging out in the same places and picking back up. So that is a possibility through the rest of this evening. We were expecting to see somewhere between 1 to as much as 3 inches in some places, especially with the way that things have just been motionless outside of this particular tornado warning. We are starting to see coverage pick up here in the metro area. There's a little bit of lightning, but nothing else is severe at this time. So we'll take you back a little bit closer to the actual tornado that we've been tracking now for 3 hours.
Yeah.
This has been on the ground, or at least close to being on the ground. It's had at least a decent rotation with it. This was warned in Louisiana and has made its way all the way almost across central Mississippi, south central Mississippi, right along that Highway 84 corridor. And at the moment is sitting right over Monticello, the worst of this storm, where we do anticipate there's still some rotation and potentially a tornado that is still touching down on the ground. The rotation itself not showing as strong of winds as what we were seeing earlier, but that doesn't mean that it's not still a tornado. It just means maybe it's not as strong of a tornado as it was previously. In any case, it's still causing damage. It's still pushing right through or at least very close to Monticello, and I'm talking the city limits, right in the heart of the city of Monticello. So stay in your safe places here. This is still moving at a pretty good speed. That means you're not going to have to deal with it for very long, because at this point, it's now halfway through Lawrence County, and we've only got to get it past Jeff Davis County. And I say it that way because it doesn't look like it's going to fully fizzle out at this point. That hasn't been the story so far. You can see these winds are picking up again with the direction that they're going. We're talking winds that could be as high as 80 to 100 miles per hour. Earlier, Chief Meteorologist Dave Roberts chimed in, and he was measuring winds that were up to 130 miles per hour. Now, that's when the storm was in Franklin County, but it hasn't looked much different as it's made its way through Lincoln and now half of Lawrence County. So there hasn't really been much of a change from this particular cell since it was in Louisiana. It's remained the same. It's been a very steady storm, and it's moved at a steady speed between 35 to about 45 miles per hour. There has been a tornado on the ground for most of the time that we've been tracking it. And that tornado right now is close to you in Monticello. I'm saying all of this, and the rotation itself, a little bit more difficult to find with these last few scans than it was just a little while ago. Hopefully that's good news for us, but this storm has done a lot of cycling where it's appeared to weaken just a little bit, and that it may have weakened just a smidgen, but then it picks right back up as it moves off just a little bit more to the east. And it really is just riding west to east at this point. So that's going to get it to you in Prentiss very shortly. If not the actual tornado, then a very strong thunderstorm that we'll still be watching. Because Anae and I mentioned earlier, even if this falls apart, you're still going to be dealing with wind damage impacts, potentially some hail. Now, if it does fall apart, the hail damage or the hail threat is not going to be all that serious, but the wind threat certainly will be, like it has for the last little bit. It looks like they finally trimmed Lincoln County out of this completely. This is a tornado emergency. So keep in mind that this is the most serious tornado warning that they can issue, or almost the most serious tornado warning that they can issue. But you are in the all clear in Lincoln County now. So that's some good news for you. Yes, it is still raining. It is going to continue to rain, but we don't have anything else that's severe at this moment. This is what we're focusing our attention on for you, and this is what we'll continue to track. Now it's halfway through Lawrence County. That puts it halfway closer to you in Jeff Davis County. Be in your safe place now in Prentiss. I said this earlier. It's in the county before you now, so that means no more time to go somewhere else. This is the time to be in your safe place at your house, or if you're at a neighbor's house, do not get back out on the roads. You're already in heavy rain. That's going to slow you down significantly, and that will take away from the time that you have to get into your safe place, which at this point is only about 15 to 20 minutes for you in Prentiss. And then in eastern Jeff Davis County, which hopefully this doesn't make it that far, but if it does, it's still not going to be that long from now.
And I'm curious as to what it looks like on our Market Max camera in Monticello as well. Now that we are seeing the circulation pretty much right over town. And the good news is it does look weaker right now than it did earlier. But once again, just like we're saying, the storm has shown indications of weakening and then strengthen right back up. So certainly stay in your safe place in Manila and Silver Creek and Monticello, and then headed towards getting close to your safe place if you're over in Prentiss in Jeff Davis County. And once again, that storm and White Sand especially, is that you're also in the path of this storm. But if we could find the Market Max camera in Monticello, I think that would be beneficial, so we could kind of see the downpours. Definitely it looks like blowing rain, like sheets of rain, lots of lightning. That's likely some hail bouncing around out there as well. If we can kind of zoom in on that, we can certainly see that. You can see that wind kind of blowing the rain, sheets of rain, and blinding rain likely, as well as we see this person here with the emergency lights on. Hopefully they get home safely. Definitely praying for them as we're looking at very dangerous conditions. Don't head outside in Monticello. Very heavy rain. And once again, rotation, tornadic. This is a tornadic storm. You're under a tornado emergency still, although it does look like the rotation has lightened up. Historically, this has been very strong rotation. It's looking, the radar is pretty messy right now. It looks like, could that be the remnants of a debris ball that was earlier, that's from this storm earlier? That could be the case. Could that be just the hail that this storm is producing? That could be the case as well. It's looking a little bit less clear, but that is a bright side. We're still looking at some circulation, definitely, I would say that, over the city of Monticello, over the town, but it's not quite as strong as it was as it kind of crossed the county line into Lawrence County, but definitely still a strong storm nonetheless. You could see all that heavy rainfall pouring, and if you're in Jeff Davis County or the eastern part of Lawrence County, that's what's headed in your area. That's what is approaching. So we have one singular tornado warning. I wouldn't be surprised if this is downgraded shortly. It does look like it's a little bit harder to confirm the spot of the tornado right now, although that could potentially still be the debris signature up there. So certainly stay in your safe place. But another thing to note is the power outages have certainly seen an uptick as this tornado unfortunately continued to track across our area. We're looking now at close to 21,000, honestly, just below 22,000 people across the state, or customers across the state of Mississippi, without power now. The numbers increasing, the highest percentage out of power would be Franklin County. We're looking at more than 2,000 customers in Franklin County. In Lincoln County, more than 4,000, close to 5,000 customers in Lincoln County. And once again, of course, this is where this potentially strong tornado was tracking through earlier. We're seeing hundreds out in Lawrence County. Of course, there's a population difference between these areas. Excuse my voice crack. Population difference, so that's changing the numbers a lot, but the percentages are pretty high for all these counties. Jeff Davis County already seeing hundreds out, close to 1,000 out. And the tornadic part of the storm hasn't even reached the area yet. That just goes to show how rough the conditions are out ahead of it. Strong damaging winds. You're looking at lots and lots of heavy rainfall. Once again, blinding rain. You don't want to be heading out and about anywhere in the northern part of Lawrence County or Jeff Davis County. Even if you're not under the tornado warning yet, which you likely will be shortly, you do not need to be heading out and about. But once again, we're seeing more reports. Not only are we seeing more outages over the area where this tornado previously tracked, we're getting reports of potentially, we saw the tornadoes as it was confirmed over Lincoln County. We unfortunately, yes, and we do see the power outage map ready to go as well. So we can bring that up, and we can definitely see that increase right through the counties where we were tracking this tornado earlier. In Franklin County, we've got thousands out of power. That's the same case across Lincoln County, and that's continuing to increase for parts of Lawrence and Jeff Davis as this tornadic storm continues to track through. So the weak circulation is continuing to move through, and it's a less defined tornado debris signature, but still, even outside of the tornadic storms, like we were looking at a moment ago, parts of Leak, still seeing some of those power outages just from the severe thunderstorms that we had earlier. Because once again, the strong damaging wind, they don't have to be tornadic to be dangerous. We could still have very strong wind gusts that are just straight line winds. So that's something really important to keep in mind. Although we have this one singular tornado warning, many other areas here in central Mississippi are seeing some downpours. In fact, you're seeing some heavy rain heading back into the Natchez area right now. Just to be safe, I'm going to look at the circulation on that. It doesn't look like much. It's something that we will continue to watch over the next few hours. We're seeing some scattered rainfall even around Vicksburg and even some near in Madison County. We're seeing some downpours in southern Rankin, but nothing severe at the moment, except for this strong cell that's still moving over Lawrence County and moving into your area in Jefferson Davis County. And now, once again, the circulation, it's still pretty defined just in the eastern side of town in Monticello. It is also noticeably weaker, though. We're seeing indications of some pretty strong gusts outside of that. The debris signature, a lot more scattered. It's not as defined. That's good news for you in Lawrence County. It's not quite as strong of a tornado, but it could still very well be a weak tornado on the ground, and it could once again re-strengthen. We've seen this happen several times with this particular storm, so nothing to let your guard down about, but I do want to give you some of the good news that it is weakening a little bit as this storm, at least for the past couple of scans, starts to head towards the Silver Creek area. So that's one of the things that we are looking at. But I'll zoom out and kind of give a little bit of overview because we've been on here on live for now more than 3 hours, and we are looking across central Mississippi. It's around 8:38 here in the station. We have one tornado warning still under effect. Right now, it's a tornado emergency. I do have to say the circulation has weakened a bit since we have seen that, since that was first issued. It looks like we're going to see the tornado warning continue, but also decreased. That's what we're having right now. Thankfully, that tornado warning, now it's still in effect, but it was downgraded a little bit. So we see scattered showers across the rest of our area. Nothing quite severe though, except for this tornado warning that is now in the eastern part of Lawrence County, and it's now heading into Jeff Davis County. Now, it doesn't look like the warning was extended too far downstream, and that's hopefully good news, as it looks like this might finally be running out of steam. Now, that might be wishful thinking, as this has been quite the sell. It has been lasting for a while. I still see this area of circulation right outside of Monticello. It's south of Silver Creek. We're still seeing that area of circulation, but once again, not nearly as defined as it was about 30 minutes ago. And that's good news for us here, but we could still see the circulation, even if it's not tornadic, if it's not as strong of a tornado, you could still have some pretty damaging strong winds. And let's take a look at the hail tracker as well. We could still be seeing at least some small to medium-sized hail within that storm as well. So a lot going on here in central Mississippi, and we're also continuing to get more reports of damage in many areas as well, unfortunately. But that is something that we're continuing to track as this first alert weather day continues. But for now, on your first alert radar, we have one tornado warning, and the rest of the area seems to just be seeing some scattered showers and some downpours.
Yeah, and one thing I want to point out here, I was reminded of when we saw that car going very quickly down the road in Monticello, hazards on and all. Behind this tornado, there are going to be emergency personnel trying to get out on the roads, trying to get to people who are calling them, trying to maybe get debris out of the roads. Please do not go out on the road if you don't have to. Try and leave that open for them to get things done in the way that they need to. We did have someone call in from Franklin County earlier, or from Wilkinson County earlier, talking about how they had to have emergency personnel out trying to get people out of places that they were trapped in. If that happens to be the story in any of our counties that this tornado has gone through, then we want them to be able to get to those people as quickly as possible. So don't go out trying to survey damage on your own. Let them have the roads to themselves. And for now, stay in your safe place in Lawrence and Jeff Davis counties. The rest of us, again, don't have all that much going on. This is a pretty decent looking thunderstorm, seeing at least some very heavy rain, and that could potentially pick up to maybe some hail. It's not anything very impressive, and frankly, the front hasn't moved. Again, it's still stalled in the southern delta. So that means the rest of us are going to continue to see shower and thunderstorm activity for the next little while, but the energy is expected to go down. Now that the sun is down, we're losing that part of the picture, and over the next few hours we expect to see things kind of fizzle out from a severe standpoint. From a rain standpoint, not necessarily going to be the case, but we are expecting to see things at least a little quieter once we get to not 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at the latest. Remember, our tornado watch across the area expires at 11 p.m. tonight. The potential still is going to be higher further to the south, but as far as our models showed, that energy was expected to be totally out of the picture by about midnight or 1 a.m. So anything that you see showing up past that point is only expected to be rain. And I will say, even until that point, with the severe threat having, or the severe warnings having decreased so much at this point, it looks like maybe we should be getting closer to the clear here, at least I sure hope that that's the case. Your Thursday is going to be a much quieter day across the area. It's still going to be a little bit cloudy at times, but it's not going to be rainy, and there's certainly not going to be severe storms like what we've seen today. On Friday, we will have another uptick in rain coverage, especially further to the south. Those are not expected to be severe either. Even the stormy weather we see this weekend is just expected to be lower end thunderstorms. So right now we have a higher end thunderstorm, a tornado warning in Lawrence County. If we can zoom in and give people an idea of where that storm is sitting now, it has been downgraded from a tornado emergency to just a tornado warning. It's not even a radar confirmed tornado any longer because the rotation is looking so much broader and weaker at this point. But if there still is a tornado in eastern Lawrence County, then it will very shortly be in western Jeff Davis County, and you'll be needing to be in your safe place in Prentiss. This goes until 9 p.m. They haven't changed the expiration on it. They've only been changing who is still in the backside of the warning, and they've been changing the threat from the tornado, but they haven't extended it at this point, and we may end up seeing it expire at 9 o'clock. That's 16 minutes from now. It's certainly a possibility because there's not anything nearly as impressive to look at from this cell at this point. So finally, a nice change for us across the area. But even though you won't be in the warning in Prentiss, I do think that you should stay in your safe place for now, especially if this happens to cycle back up. So I'm going to take over here on the radar, and we'll take a zoomed out view of our watches, which are still across most of the area. Now, the Southern Delta, you were not in a watch ever this afternoon. That's because the cold front had made it to you, but then it stalled and it stopped moving, which is what that means. And then we unfortunately didn't see much of a change. Now, it has moved a little at this point from what I saw earlier this evening. It's got a little motion to it. So behind the front, you're not really going to be dealing with any kind of severe threat. Ahead of the front, that's where we still have the energy to see strong to severe storms. And they have now extended the tornado warning through Jeff Davis County and out past Jeff Davis County as well. So there's the latest for you on that. And that does now include Prentiss. Remember, I said just go ahead and be in your safe place because we would prefer that you're there and then you don't have to worry about it when the storm gets to you. They're saying in the National Weather Service chat the same thing that we've been telling you, which is that it's still a strong storm and the tornado itself could pop back up really at any given time, or rather pop back down. It could make its way back to the surface at any time. And what you're seeing here, potentially a couplet, but really it just looks like some strong and potentially damaging wind. The debris tracker still looking very messy, not like we have any sort of defined debris ball at this point. That's also good news. And the rest of this is good news for the rest of central Mississippi, where we're just dealing with some showers and storms. I am going to pull up the lightning tracker. I just want to see how it's looking for the area outside of where we're dealing with that particular severe thunderstorm or that particular tornado warning. And it looks like, yeah, just a few thunderstorms popping up here and there. I wouldn't be surprised to see some flash flood warnings, or at least a special weather statement for this rain that's pushing into Natchez, only because there are flash flood warnings behind it and it appears to be moving relatively slowly. So for the rest of the area, nothing severe ongoing. We do have a tornado warning. It's for eastern Lawrence County, and it goes into, well, it goes across Jeff Davis County and into Covington County at this time. That does include Collins. For our sake, it includes you in Prentiss, It does not include Clem, but it's going to include Lone Star, Carson, although I'm not sure that the storm is going to be that far south, but Lucas, Silver Creek, and that's kind of where the storm has already passed up just a little bit, because again, at this point, it looks like it's likely already into Jeff Davis County, or at least getting close.
That's right, and it is a little bit harder to tell, and that's a good news because it looks like the circulation is remaining fairly weak now, continuing that downward trend as the circulation is now pretty much fully out of Lawrence County, now on into Jeff Davis, just outside of the Prentiss area. We're looking at the western side of Jeff Davis County, once again, just to the west of Prentiss, still remaining along Highway 84 is where we're looking at that right now. But on your first alert radar, notice it's a little bit messier. We can't see as clear of a supercell as things are kind of starting to merge outside. It's looking like we're kind of just starting to see a lot of showers forming across the area. And once again, they're kind of starting to merge together as what we're looking at for central Mississippi. Can't really complain about that, though, much after what we've already been seeing throughout much of the evening. But this tornado warning that has been issued for Jeff Davis County, stretching across Jeff Davis into Covington, that is set to last until around 9:45 is what we're looking at for the storm where the circulation is just east of Prentiss. And once again, that's continuing to track towards the east over the next hour or so. We could have a tornado possible with this storm. It's been tornadic in the past, but also ping pong ball sized hail. So large hail still a factor within this severe storm. It'll be near Prentiss it's going to be over Prentiss very shortly. We're looking at Lone Star by around 9 p.m. So within about 10 minutes from now, or basically by 9 o'clock, we're looking at Lone Star, Collins around 9:15, and Seminary around 9:20 is where we're looking at this storm, once again with some potentially tornadic rotation, but thankfully we cannot confirm a tornado with this storm right now, as it has certainly weakened over the past several scans, but still seeing an area of circulation, so definitely something of note outside of Prentiss, but once again cannot confirm that this is a tornado. That's what we're looking at right now. And on the hail tracker, we can see that although our hail tracker is showing some smaller hail, it seems like there's been some reports of larger hail within this storm. So that's another thing to keep in mind if you are in Prentiss County, especially northern half of Prentiss County, Jeff Davis County. The city is Prentiss. Prentiss County is actually in North Mississippi. But anyway, this is Jeff Davis County. The city is Prentiss. If you're in especially the northern half of Jeff Davis County, that's where you're looking at downpours across the area. You're looking at potential hail, you're still seeing that area of circulation, but now the tornado warning, tornado not confirmed, but we are still seeing an area of circulation that is notable enough that it could try to potentially become tornadic again over the next hour or so. But once again, the threat has started to diminish a little bit, at least with this storm that we're seeing right now in Jeff Davis County. And that means the good news, we can give you the all clear in Monticello. Although you're still seeing some downpours and likely still tracking some lightning, still hearing some rumbles of thunder across Lawrence County, the tornadic part of this thunderstorm is past you. It's now heading towards Prentiss over in Jeff Davis County, so you can leave your safe place if you're in Lawrence County. Even though the tornado warning hasn't expired yet, it's going to expire at the very latest at 9, but likely ahead of that, as the tornadic part of the storm is out of your area. And looking further beyond that, we are still seeing some downpours across the area, but once again, we're not seeing much in the way of severe weather at the moment. But that does bring up a good point as far as rain is concerned, because on top of every other threat, strong damaging wind, hail, tornadoes, which we've seen all of today, there's also a threat for flash flooding. And we're going to check here really quick the amount of rain that we've seen so far. The rainfall totals, let me find that here. There we go. Rainfall estimates. Let's see, 6 hours ago it was 2 p.m. So that's enough. I would say 6 hours. We're seeing some areas that could potentially be close to 4 inches of rain especially where that very strong storm with that tornado was passing through. Between there, at least anywhere from trace amounts to 2 inches of rain, pretty widespread across the area. That's what we expect that we've seen so far. There's more rain on the way overnight. Even as the severe threat starts to diminish, we're going to see more showers, and that opens up the risk to see some flash flooding. And that is on top of, like we briefly mentioned earlier, the areas that have already seen the tornado passing through. If you're in Franklin, if you're in Lincoln, even in parts of Lawrence, there are likely emergency personnel trying to get out right now and assess the damage. So in case you need more reasons not to head outside in the areas along Highway 84, that's one of the reasons you don't need to block the emergency personnel trying to keep people safe or assess any potential damage. And on top of that, we're looking at a threat for flash flooding. We're actually looking at more rain that could actually cause yet another type of warning. And once again, that would be flooding, as we've already seen between 2 to 4 inches of rain in some spots, estimated rainfall totals. And once again, we're looking at more showers over the next several hours for the overnight period, kind of looking at our timer again and what we can expect over the next several hours. Once again, this is 8 o'clock, still seeing the showers, a few strong storms or two. This is 10 p.m., similar story, especially south of I-20 looking like the heaviest rainfall, but still some scattered showers to the north. And as we head towards 11 p.m. to midnight, same story, but the activity kind of weakening. Now, our tornado watch currently does expire at 11 p.m., so afterwards, we'll have a diminished threat for storms, but still some rumbles of thunder potentially overnight, scattered showers as well. And to the early morning hours, this is 4, 5 a.m., potentially even some scattered showers for 6 a.m., still seeing some of that rainfall. But as you head further through your day on your Thursday, that's when we are looking at this threat diminishing across the area. So we are expecting to see less of those thunderstorms as we head into the morning. This is 8 to 9 a.m. and more calm conditions in store for your Thursday. So that's good news for us here in central Mississippi right now. So we talked earlier about the frontal boundary. It did kind of stall out, but we've seen it make some progress. So this basically is a frontal boundary that spurred on a lot of those storms. And that's why the tornado watch was cut off for the lower Delta area, because you had already seen the cold front earlier today. So now the cold front is pretty much centered right along the Jackson metro area. And what that means is along the front and behind, there's a diminishing threat for severe weather. Less and less likely to see actual severe storms after this cold front passes through the area. So our southeastern counties like Jeff Davis, where you're seeing this tornado warning right now, you still have the potential once again for severe impacts across the area. Technically still some potential for our southern counties as well, like Pike and Walthall and Amit. But once again, we did see that very strong storm earlier, hopefully using up a lot of that energy. But as this frontal boundary continues to cross through the area, we are going to see that severe threat diminishing. So that's the good news. We can certainly see the effects of that frontal boundary on our temperatures. We're in the low 60s for Vicksburg. We're in the mid upper 70s for Macomb. So definitely a lot of changes, but the front is slowly but surely making its way through, and it is going to be providing us some relief from the severe weather. But for right now, we still have a tornado warning in effect for pretty much for Jeff Davis County is where the actual rotation is. The warning hasn't expired for you in Monticello yet. It will within the next few minutes, and you are in the clear from the tornadic part of the storm in Lawrence County. So keep that in mind. The rotation here is in the central part of Jeff Davis County. It's pretty much right over Prentiss is what we're looking at now. If we kind of take off the radar so you can see the warning better, we're looking at Prentiss. Now, Bassfield, you're in the warning, but the actual circulation is further to the north, and it's likely headed more towards McCraney. Historically, this part of the storm has actually been moving towards the east. We'll see that on into Collins as it heads towards the out into Covington County. But right now, we're seeing a very broad area of circulation over the central part of Jeff Davis County. That's over the city of Prentiss. But once again, we cannot confirm a tornado with this storm. It's looking like a much weaker circulation. So that is certainly a relief for us. We are looking at not much in the way of debris as well. That's why this tornado warning is no longer confirmed. But once again, there's still circulation that's notable enough to keep the warning. We can definitely see this area where the storm is still trying to rotate. right over Prentice, pretty much just through the middle of Prentice right now. So certainly still a hefty thunderstorm. You still need to be very close to your safe place. It's not still in the safe place for most of Jeff Davis County, especially near the Prentice area. And I'll go ahead and put the tracker on that to see how fast this is moving and where it is going. So once again, this is for Covington and Jeff Davis until 9:45. But we're looking at a storm that's moving at around, let's see how quick this is moving, 35 miles per hour. So it's remaining relatively slow. So let's put the cone on there. I think the speeds, yeah, still at 35 miles per hour. So I'll go ahead and zoom out a little bit and look at the path that it's been taking so far. It's looking mostly easterly, a little bit to the north. So we'll track that on out. And these are the areas that you can expect to see this storm in. So once again, right over the Prentice area, pretty much as we speak, Lone Star by 9:15, Williamsburg, and these are out in Covington County now, by 9:29, and Collins by 9:36. Now that's really good news. It's actually really encouraging for us here in central Mississippi, for you in Jeff Davis County. This is going to quickly continue to move on out of your area. We don't have much time left to be in this under the rotating part of this thunderstorm. Now it's still rotating. There's still a notable feature on this that could try to become tornadic in the central part of Jeff Davis County. So we don't want to get too relaxed and think, okay, well, the threat is completely over. Just because this is not a confirmed tornado at the moment, it's still confirmed rotation. I would almost say that last scan, it's still definitely broad. It looks like it tried to be a little bit more defined. It looks like the storm is trying to hook again. But either way, it is moving on out towards the east. The actual rotating part of the storm will be in Covington County pretty soon. We are looking at the storm shortly moving out of our central Mississippi region, moving on out towards eastern Mississippi. If I kind of zoom out, we can get a better look at that and kind of a broader scope of what we're looking at here. This is the rotating part of the storm, pretty much right over Prentice, moving into the eastern part of the area. And it's going to track on out towards Covington County. And we're looking at that. Collins, Hot Coffee, these are areas in the path. Seminary, now you're still in the path, the cone, but the storm is likely moving north of you. And then we're looking at Hebron down the line. And it's 9 o'clock, you can see that warning was finally canceled for Lawrence County. So you're all in the clear. You're seeing some downpours, but you're no longer in that tornado threat. Now, the tornado threat not quite over for you here in Jeff Davis County, but we are still looking at a tornado warning for an area of circulation, fairly broad circulation that looks a little bit weak at the time. At this time, thankfully, not a confirmed tornado, but still circulating enough to be notable. And once again, this is looking at the eastern part of Jeff Davis County. Kind of zooming in, getting some more community names here, right outside of McCraney. It's going to be north of Dean as the storm continues to move. We're looking at Granby Road in the eastern part of Jeff Davis County. That's where the strongest circulation is right now at this moment. North of Carson is where the circulation is at the moment. If we look at our radar, then we can see that kind of feature that's still the circulating part of the storm. Once again, pretty much right along Granby Road and moving on out further towards the east. But once again, the tornadic part of the storm will be exiting Jeff Davis County here within the next several minutes. So we likely are going to have the threat starting to diminish across much of the area as we head further into the 9 o'clock hour. For now, this severe thunderstorm warning, this tornado warning is set to expire at 9:45. However, Jeff Davis County, you will be out of the tornadic part early, or a lot sooner than that. You will be out of that threat sooner than that. So that's the good news. In fact, I can give some all clears. Actually, in Prentice, you are actually out of much of the strongest part of the storm. The circulation is really getting east of your area now, and that is the case. While Bassfield, you can still stay near your safe place just in case the storm were to take a turn. But the way that it's been tracking now, it'll move north of you. Similar story for Dean, although Dean, you'll likely be clipped by this storm, kind of just to the north. But overall, the situation is improving. The circulation does seem to be weakening, and hopefully it won't be able to continue to hold together for too much longer, as we do have this tornado warning that continues to be in effect until around 9:45. But once again, we expect by around at least 9:20 at the latest. I think that's when, honestly, Jeff Davis will be out of the most dangerous part of the storm.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Anae. So, Amal? I would agree with that. It does look like we're really going to be done with this cell very, very shortly at this point, and hopefully the National Weather Service can just trim us out of that warning. Once that occurs, then we can send you back to your regularly scheduled programming. But for the moment, we've still got a tornado warning for you in Jefferson Davis County. They have actually already trimmed it just a little bit just now.
Yeah.
So western Jefferson Davis County, they've trimmed you out of that because, again, the storm is just moving its way on out. It looks like it hasn't really had anything on the ground for a little while now, but we still are trying to be cautious because of the nature of this particular cell so far this evening. Again, we've been watching this for 3.5 hours at this point since it was over in eastern Louisiana. Now it's not really very much to look at, and the rotation itself, the very broad rotation that it may be, is going to be clearing out into Covington County very, very shortly. So if anything, it could bring some impacts to people in Collins. The National Weather Service will still be watching it, but we'll be focusing our energy back here at home to things that are, at this point, just rain and thunderstorms. If we can get another look at that from our first alert radar view, we've only got this one warning, and
in between scans,
yeah,
it's kind of loading right now.
There's not anything coming up there, but yeah, you can see the data trying to load in. We've only got this one tornado warning. We don't have any other thunderstorm warnings. We don't even have any special weather statements at this point.
Well, that just became untrue as you said it. So the storm the storm that you were actually looking at earlier
in Natchez,
and yes, south of Natchez in Adams County, and unfortunately, it's pretty much going right under the area. It's right over the path that we just saw hit by tornado. But thankfully, this is not necessarily looking like a tornadic storm, but it is looking like, of course, heavy downpours, wind gusts up to 40 miles per hour, hail size is about 1/2 inch in diameter. So relatively small hail, but still notable. Definitely heavy downpours, definitely lightning and thunder, and 40 mile per hour wind gusts. So not quite severe, but enough to be impactful for the southern part of Adams County. That will be approaching you. It'll be moving across Franklin. It'll be moving across Lincoln and pretty much tracking the same path as this supercell here that did become tornadic. But once again, the environment, a lot of that energy has been used up by this cell, which is thankful. And that's something that we appreciate right now as that continues to move on out of the area. We're seeing downpours, but we are not really expecting to see much more of the stronger storms like we were tracking earlier.
Yeah, it looks like here in the next couple of hours, we're really going to lose the potential for severe storms. And again, we've only got one that is severe at this point. We do have a storm that's going to be kind of teetering on the edge of being severe. That's the one that's in Adams County right now. A special weather statement just means it's not quite to severe limits, but it is a strong storm. So that's what we'll be tracking. And I wouldn't be surprised to maybe see some flash flood warnings here and there as we go through the rest of this evening, especially with the rain still just hanging out with us and it kind of filtering through the same areas over and over again so far this evening. So with that said, if you've already gotten 1 inch or 3 of rain and you see another heavy downpour come through, and you live somewhere that maybe has poor drainage, then you could end up with some flash flood concerns. The main concern this evening, of course, has been this one cell that had a tornado warning on it from the time it entered the area and to the time it will leave the area, which is now at this point. So it's about to make its way out of Jefferson Davis County into Covington County. We're so very close to not having to deal with that part of that storm. It's now got trailing rain back behind it. Again, we were tracking some showers kind of like following it earlier, and there may be a few rumbles of thunder, but if you are in an area that just had to deal with that tornado emergency, then you can rest in the fact that there's not anything severe following it at this point. There may be some gusty winds with that cell that's all the way back in Adams County at this point, but these other showers are not even having a lot of lightning with them. It's really just some rain that's following that particular cell, which again is clearing out of here relatively quickly. They've continued to trim down this tornado warning. So Prentice, you're no longer under it. They're just doing it very, very slowly, trying to make sure that anybody who could potentially be dealing with any rotation from this is in the warning if they could be dealing with that. But in Prentice, you have the all clear. You have the all clear in Monticello. I know it is raining heavily there, and it's going to continue to rain for you in Prentice too. Again, this is just trailing back behind this storm at this point. So go ahead and just stay in the house. Call it a night. Stay in your safe place if you're still under this tornado warning, even though this is not very impressive looking. It's really not anything to look at, and it's about to be out of our area. For the rest of the area, the rest of central Mississippi, just make sure that you've got multiple ways to receive warnings for the next couple of hours, but this is not going to be an overnight severe weather event for us. Again, our tornado watch expires in 2 hours at 11 o'clock tonight. Then as we head into your Thursday, quieter weather, drier weather after a really soggy overnight that we've got out ahead for us. Because even when the severe threat ends, the rain is likely going to stick around for at least a few hours as we go into the overnight tonight. And then things will dry up before you get ready to start the day on Thursday. And that looks something like this. Again, the severe threat done by 11 o'clock, likely at the latest. That's when our tornado watch expires. And at that point, we don't expect to see anything really popping up, but we'll still have some rain kind of filtering into the area. Still in the same places, still going to be dealing with some flash flood concern. And keep that in mind as you head out for the morning commute tomorrow. Even though it won't necessarily be raining any longer, we will still have wet roads across the area. And then we've got more rain on the way on Friday in some places and on Saturday and Sunday of this coming weekend. Not a washout and not anything like what we're dealing with right now, but still something that we are going to be tracking. Could look something like this, about an inch or two across most of the area. This is for the overnight hours, what it's showing you for Thursday before the sun comes up. Friday's rain, mostly expected to stay further to the south. Saturday, the coverage peaks a little bit higher, and then kind of on and off showers across the state as we head into your Sunday. Not necessarily anything that's very impressive, but we'll take you back to our first alert radar view.
Yeah.
Especially since it looks like we're nearing the end of this particular cell getting out of the area for us. Maybe we can just take a look and see if there's any rotation to look at, but it looks like the little hook part of the storm is out of Jeff Davis County at this point. So that would be where the worst of the weather is. And it looks like we've just about cleared that at this point too. So
yeah,
maybe kind of riding the line.
I would say right on the county line right now is where we're looking at it. Now, in the National Weather Service chat, they are noting that, yes, it has been struggling to kind of get its act back together. But as it moves on out into the southeastern part of our state, it technically is moving into an environment that is more suitable, that hasn't been quite as used up by all the rain, that doesn't have any competition as we look further towards the south. So zooming out, as the storm kind of approaches, well, they did see some of those cells earlier near the Hattiesburg area, but still there hasn't been quite as much rain. So we could see this start to resurge over in eastern Mississippi, but we are definitely looking at a smaller threat here in central Mississippi. And once again, yeah, the hook part of that storm, like Elise said earlier, which is basically the rotation where we would expect a tornado to form, is pretty much right on, if not just beyond the county line between Jeff Davis and Covington. So the threat for us here in central Mississippi, once again, the tornadic threat continuing to decrease. I'd almost say pretty much the tornadic threat is pretty much beyond us in Jeff Davis County. And now that is continuing to move on out into Covington. Now it's still under this tornado warning for now, just to be safe. But hopefully we continue to see more and more, like we can see now on this latest update. Most of Jeff Davis County has been shaved out of this warning as that tornado or the potentially tornadic storm continues to move out. Now, once again, it still has a little bit of rotation. It looks like it's trying to maybe strengthen a little bit as it moves towards Collins. But once again, that's over in Covington County. So if you are in Jeff Davis County, pretty much you're in the clear. Bassfield, you're in the clear. Prentice, you are also not seeing the severe part of that storm. Now for Dean, the rotating part of the storm is just north of you. So you're still in the warning. And I would say keep your eyes on this until it's really beyond you, until it's further towards the east. But really, you're not in the thick of it. You're not seeing the strongest part of this storm in Dean as well. Mostly it'll just be some rainfall lingering behind that. We've seen some lightning. Well, of course, still seeing that. It does look like the lightning is trying to pick up a little bit as the storm moves into Covington. That's kind of a worst case scenario for communities like Collins, where the storm could try to, I would say it tried to strengthen.
Yeah.
It's still kind of broad, but that looks a little bit more like recognizable rotation, I would say.
Yeah, it's not as messy as it was 10 minutes ago.
Yeah. But once again, that is moving past our area. So we do expect as we head further into the 9 o'clock hour that we will continue to be removed from this particular warning. Now it's in Jeff Davis. Now down the line, and this is just kind of brainstorming, but there is a potential that this could just kind of, let me get my little arrow. And this is a worst case scenario for us as our throats are getting very scratchy. But, you know.
No.
Hopefully just like this. But I think the warning.
This storm hasn't had enough of a
I'm not talking. Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm not talking about a tornado. I'm talking about the cell with this weak rotation going in this direction. Like the warning doing this. And then that would leave us on until it was ever, basically. I'm thinking that's kind of a worst case scenario, but I think the warning is what I'm getting at is that the severe thunderstorm warning, if that's kind of extended further, it'd be pretty close to southern Smith. But we're not looking at the tornadic part of the storm, the rotation in Smith County. We're looking at enough of the downpours potentially that you might be on the outskirts of the warning, but that would be that's if it holds together. But it could continue to weaken, but once again, we're looking at the rotation, like they were saying, this broad rotation. That is what we're still looking at in the National Weather Service chat. That is what is moving out of Jeff Davis, but it is moving into Covington. It's moving into Collins, and that is what it has the potential that if anything tries to produce a tornado at this point, it would try to be that. I would say.
And with that still going the direction that it was previously going, that takes it away from us. So even if they were to push or really, really widen the tornado warning, it wouldn't be likely that we see any more tornadic action from this cell. There's unfortunately still a slim chance that we could see another brief tornado or just another tornado as we head into these next couple of hours, because we've still got some of that energy. It hasn't quite been tamped out just yet, but we're getting closer to not having to deal with that at this point. We've only got a little while left on our tornado watch. We've only got a little while left on the potential for severe thunderstorms even, and then things will be looking up across central Mississippi. So
yeah, that's definitely the case. We have kind of a more optimistic outlook for most of central Mississippi. Now, putting a tracker on this rotation that we do see, of course, it's continuing to move further out of our area. That would be near Collins shortly, pretty much by around 10, or I would say around 9:25. I don't know why I said 10, excuse me.
About
by
10
around
minutes. Maybe you're trying to get 10 minutes.
Yes, I was trying to say around 10 minutes, but less than that as well. But that's what we're looking at. This storm is moving out of our area. Of course, earlier we had a lot of storms in our area, and we actually have Patrice Clark here in the studio with some more information from others that we had here in central Mississippi as a tornado passed through earlier. So we're tossing it to you, Patrice, and what do you have now to tell us about the storms that we've been seeing so far?
Thank you, Nate and Elise. So right now we're about to talk to Trooper Ryan Jones with the Mississippi Highway Patrol. He is in the Brookhaven area. I believe he is on the line right now. Okay, so tell me, Trooper Jones, what are you seeing right now?
Yes, ma'am. I'm actually on Highway 51 in Lincoln County near Stony Brook Trail. We have multiple trees down as well as power lines down across the road. And we have road crews out as well as troopers and other local agencies assisting to get these roadways open. We also have I-55 near mile marker 34 and mile marker 36, north and southbound. It is completely blocked by trees and storm damage. We have troopers as well as CTED on scene and MDOT crews working to clear the roadway as well right now.
Now, what about reports of any injuries right now?
So far, I do not have any reports of injuries, thankfully.
Okay, and paint a picture for us. I know you were talking about some trees down and some people are now working to remove those trees, but how serious is it in your area?
So from south of Brookhaven to about Stony Brook Trail or Boca Chica High School, it's about 8 miles. And there are trees down, all down Highway 51, roughly 8 miles of trees with power lines in it as well. It's raining, it's foggy. We have, like I said, multiple people, road crews with chainsaws trying to clear these roadways. We have the, your electrical crews coming out to make sure that the power lines are shut off so that they can move those and repair the poles that may be across the highway as well. So we do ask if anyone is traveling in the area, if you can avoid Highway 51 and I-55, but if you must, please use extreme caution and go slower than you would normally and pay attention.
And that was going to be my next question. Are these heavily traveled thoroughfares?
Yes, ma'am. I-55 is a heavily traveled interstate, and Highway 51 is a highway that runs north and south near I-55 that most people in this area would use as a detour to get around the blockages on I-55.
And we always have people who like to sightsee. They want to go out, see what's happening, see the trees down for some reason. I don't get it. But what do you say to the people who not going to work, don't have to be outside? What do you have to say to them?
Yes, ma'am. I would ask if they can to stay put where they're at. You can open them back up safely, do their job as well as they can without adding congestion to the area. That way we can keep the residents of Mississippi safe as they travel our highways.
And we're looking at video right now of the trees blocking both directions of I-55. It is pouring rain outside. I can see a tractor, police cars. This is a serious situation. I mean, thankfully, as you said, no one has been injured, but that's why it's important to not go outside, because this is still happening, right? And even after the rain leaves, you have to deal with the aftermath, the cleanup.
Yes, ma'am. And right now, although it is pouring rain in certain areas, there is a lot of cleanup going on. And with as dark and as heavy rainfall that has come in the area, it is possible that you won't see a downed tree until you're right up on it. And we don't want to see any other accidents happen while we're trying to clear these roadways and keep everyone safe.
And once again, for the people who just tuned in, talk about the damage once again. What are you seeing, and what highways, what thoroughfares are blocked right now?
Okay. Again, we're seeing multiple trees down across Highway 51 as well as I-55. Near I-55 would be mile marker 34 and 36. They're completely blocked by trees. We have road crews out with chainsaws and everything, as well as skid steers and other heavy machinery trying to clear those roadways. We have Mississippi Highway Patrol and CTED, as well as other local agencies, assisting us with keeping those roadways blocked and preventing people from possibly having a collision with the trees that are blocking the highway, as well as miles of trees down on Highway 51 south of Brookhaven that we're working with, again, local agencies to try to clear to prevent any accidents from happening in the future.
Now, I'm not sure if you know this, but is the power out in those areas, or homes or businesses in those areas?
Oh, yes, ma'am. There is. I do not know how much right now, but yes, ma'am, there is power out. There are power lines down. So there will be many residents without power.
And again, we want to thank you for what you're doing, informing us so that we don't have to be out there in that mess during this severe storm, first alert weather day. Thank you for your information. Anything else that I did not ask that you want to say about the Brookhaven area?
No, ma'am. We appreciate you calling and helping us put out this information so we can keep the people of Mississippi safe.
Thank you. Now we're going to go back to Elise and Anae with an update on this first alert weather day.
Yeah, Patrice. And I want to just point out here that we've now gotten past the potential to see any kind of tornadic threat from this particular cell. So there is a very tiny corner of a tornado warning clipping us, but we are not expected to see anything in that part of Jeff Davis County. The actual potential rotation is out of the picture for us. It's into Covington County at this point. So we're not going to wait for you to get trimmed out. We are going to go ahead and send things back to regularly scheduled programming. This is still a first alert weather day, and we've still got potential for maybe a few more storms over the next few hours. But for now, I'm meteorologist Elise Ushman here with meteorologist Anae Scales. We're going to send you back to your regularly scheduled programming and get you some of our regular news.
This has been a First Alert weather update. We now return you to our regularly scheduled programming.
I'm going to replace these batteries.